So let's get started then. So agenda of today's training will be, we will have some objectives, about the training, and then we will discuss the success mantra, as in what we should be doing to ensure we are learning and we are improving and we are actually utilizing all these skill sets in our career. And then there will be some WH concepts. We discussed this yesterday on a very helicopter view, but we will discuss in detail today. Some common terms that you should be aware of. Throughout the course, we will be using some of the common terms, and I want you guys to be aware what those terms are so that you're not confused when I'm using those terms. Say an example, probably I will be using BA instead of business analyst. So you should not be confused. That was one example. Now we will discuss a little bit about the software development lifecycle, which is SDLC. What exactly is this? So in SDLC, today we will be only understanding the different phases of SDLC and what we do on a really high level. In the upcoming classes, we will discuss in detail. Like, as I said, there's 6 to 8 phases of SDLC. And now don't ask how 6 or how 8. We'll discuss in detail later on. So in the further classes, we will have to discuss each of the stages in detail with the real world example. Today, we'll just try to understand what is SDLC and what does it mean, what is the full form, and how are we working as a BA during each of the phases of SDLC. And again, this will be on higher level. If you do not understand something, don't worry, relax. We will have many classes where we can discuss these things. Actually, throughout the BA course, we will be focusing on SDLC phases, so you're good. Don't worry. Now, I'll also give you a little bit idea on the project life cycle. This is different than software development life cycle. For some people, this is same. But how this is different and what is for you here, we'll discuss in detail in the upcoming slides. So what is the objective of this class? So if I can read that for you guys, you will understand the basic of business analysis. I said, I'm again using the word basics, So you will learn from the start what is BA is all about. And then, as I said, we will discuss about software development lifecycle, a basic understanding. And then you will also get some basic understanding of the project lifecycle. And I'll give you some of the keys that you can practice, you can adopt, implement in your practices, and then probably you can go and learn more. And you can use those during your interviews or during your job. So whatever you are going to learn will be helping you in the interviews and in your actual work when you are onboarded and working somewhere. So pay attention to this one and feel free to ask questions if you have any. You will also familiarize with some of the industrial common terminologies, as I just gave you one example like BA, we have a lot. And I will not cover all the terms here in this course, but to start with, I'll give you some of the terms that you should be aware. What does it mean and why I'm using those terms a lot? Now, I will also help you understand what is the interviewer is expecting from you when you're answering the questions. In other words, what is something the interviewer would like to listen or hear when he's asking or she's asking you the question and you're answering. So you have to focus on all those points. So as Samira requested yesterday, we have to, if we can also include some real-time interview preps and the real-time projects. I just thought, okay, let me at least start from the beginning, so that by the time we close this course, we end this course, the whole course, hopefully you will have already ready with that. If not, we can see if we have time and commitment to go for the separate classes for the interview prep. But for now, let me at least give you a little flavor. Now, obviously, you will learn how you can utilize all those skills, how you can grow your knowledge, and how you can use them in the real-time projects. I'll also give you some of the exam questions and our kind of sample questions here. When I'm saying exam questions, and I'm referring interviews and written test. As of, I think nowadays, these days, they do not have any written test. But before, when I started my career like 15 years ago, they used to have a basic screening and then used to have a written test. And then once you qualify the written test, they will go ahead with the Viva and all those interview processes. These days, I'm not sure if they have this thing there, but just in case, you should know a little bit, flavor of those, the questions. And I'll also give you some important tips. At the end of the course, I'll give you some important tips. So please be present, be available, and interact with me. So these tips will be really important for you, So, all right, so moving to the next. Now, some important points that you have to know. You do not have to memorize anything except some formulas. The mathematical formulas you cannot, you have to memorize no matter what. So, unless if you see any formulas, do not try to memorize anything. Do not try to, go ahead and spend your time memorizing. This will not help you, trust me. The basic funda is you have to try to understand the concepts. Do not try to memorize anything. Just in case I want you to memorize something, you will see this small icon, you see it here. So in each of the topics, whenever you see this small red kind of icon, that is something you have to memorize, because there's no other way but to memorize things, like a mathematical formula. You have to memorize no matter what. So whenever you see this small red icon, you have to memorize those things. Otherwise, you can just try to understand and ignore everything. Even though when you're memorizing, obviously you have to understand first and then you have to memorize. Some key terms that you might say in this course or maybe in the upcoming courses, the classes. So in every class, I'll give you some of the key terms which are broadly used in the IT industry, in the development team and the managers, and you will hear me using all these terms, scope creep, goal plating, prototype, scope baseline, triple costing, blah, blah, blah. Now, what exactly are these? I'll give you a very high level idea right now, but during the courses, we will discuss each of these in detail, probably today and probably in the upcoming classes. So in the next classes, you will see a different key terms, So you just have to be, you see this red icon here. I want you to memorize this thing, but you have to understand what is scope creep before you can memorize these things. So having said, if you understand, probably you don't have to memorize things. But this is important for you to recall, memorize, and review this every day. Because when you go to the interviews, when you go to the real-time work, you might hear these terms a lot and you will feel lost if you do not understand things, right? So what is scope creep on a very high level? Scope creep is something which was not agreed, but you're trying to add or remove something during the work. Let's say there was one of the requirements you discussed with business approved this one, you documented, everything is fine. And now during the development, your development team is working on those requirements. And now business is coming to you and asking you to add or remove something or, do some changes in the baseline or approved scope. And you're accepting that, right? You're accepting without going through the proper process of change management. Now, what is the change management process? We will discuss in detail. For now, to understand, you're not following any of the company's processes, and you're simply, because you have a good relationship with the business, you're saying, okay, I'll go ahead and do this one. So that is what we call technically a scope creep. And that is a big, big no. You should not be doing any scope creep. Doesn't matter who the person is all about. So am I really saying you should not be accepting any new changes? No, I'm not. There's a way of accepting or implementing new changes. When we work in traditional waterfall, it has different stages and different steps. When you work in the agile way of working, it has a different way of handling all those changes. We will review and learn in detail in the further classes. For now, for you to understand, scope creep is something adding, removing, or changing the project scope without going through the company standards or the policies of your organizations, just to make someone happy. Don't do this one. It's a big no. Goal plating is the same thing, but there's a difference. In scope creep, business comes to you asking for changes. In goal plating, you or your team believes if we can add this thing to the scope, business will be really happy. Say an example, business is asking A, and you think A plus 1 will be really helpful for the business, even though it does not impact my time, it does not impact my the quality, it does not impact my the cost. So why should not I go ahead and give customer A plus 1? So this A plus 1 thinking is a goal plating. It is trying to please someone to give them something more that they did not actually ask. So in technical world, we call it goal plating. So you should not be doing it. It's a big no. In interviews, interviewer most probably will ask you How do you make sure you're not doing gold plating? Or how do you make sure you're not doing a scope creep? And how do you make sure you have a full control over scope creep and gold plating? Or other words, they can ask you, okay, can you give us an example of a scope creep and gold plating? So you should understand these terms before you can answer those questions. These are very simple, basic questions. If you don't know, probably they will not have good confidence in you, and the interview will go in the wrong way, in different ways. Prototype is nothing but a diagram. So write some diagrams, draw something using your like pen and paper, or maybe some of the tools, fancy tools, and you show them. That's called prototyping. Scope baseline is nothing but something which is being approved, reviewed. I captured some of the requirement, documented, reviewed with business, and business has approved, signed off, saying, okay, this is exactly I want. Now you can proceed further with the development. So anything which is approved, signed is called a baseline. So when you're signing the scope, when I'm saying a scope as in the requirement, what is in the scope that we have to complete? You capture the requirement, you do the scoping, and then you have business signed it off. Once that is signed officially, that version is called baseline. So anything on top of the baseline will go through some of the processes. You have to follow some of the processes, and the process will change depending upon what mode of software development you're doing, agile or waterfall model. So we'll discuss that in detail. For now, scope baseline is nothing but the signed off version. That is a baseline. And a baseline could be in anything, in the scope, in time, cost, whatever. It's just something has been reviewed and approved officially. Triple constant, I will not discuss it right now. When we go and review how do we capture the requirement, what is in scope, what is not, I'll give you very detailed in triple constant. I'll give you a good example to understand. Triple constant for now is like your scope, time, and quality. If any one of these will change, the remaining two will get impacted. If you're changing the scope, probably the timeline will change, or probably it will also impact the cost, right? I think I said quality. Quality is now there is a time, cost, and scope. Change anything, and this will change the remaining two. So I'll give you a really detailed example of this thing when we go proceed further in different classes. Brainstorming, you all know what exactly is this, but I'm not going to talk it right now because we have a separate class when we will discuss how do we capture the requirements and what are the different processes and what we should be doing. Brainstorming is one of them. We will discuss in detail. Focus group is exactly the same thing. Facilitated group, the same thing we can discuss along with brainstorming. Benchmarking is nothing but to set some great examples. I did something that is actually setting a benchmark to the other people, to the other teams within the organizations. So everybody will be trying to achieve at least that benchmark, and they will go beyond from there to do something additional. So benchmark is something, the best work that has been done so far, and that has become a benchmark for one team, for the org. Now the other teams, they will have to at least try to achieve that benchmark. Something you have done awesome. Now beyond that will be another benchmark, but that is the current benchmark. It's like setting some records. Expert judgment is nothing but to talk to the senior folks, experienced folks, your development team, anyone who has expertise, who is an SME, who knows about that subject. Could be anything. If you are capturing some of the requirements and you have to talk to someone to get more details, you're actually consulting some experts and asking their judgment on those requirements. So expert judgment will be very important for you throughout your career in software development lifecycle in every phases. Schedule and time management is very important. Time is like, it's a pretty simple thing. How do you manage your time to do a lot of things? Now, this schedule management, time management will be in two sides. So one, the way you work, the way you manage your different works in your time. And the other thing would be, what is the schedule? What is the time it looks like to complete the project? Both things. We will discuss both. I know you may have some questions, so I'll give you a chance to ask, but not now. Let me move to the next question slide. This is very important. What is success mantra? How would you ensure you're getting success and you're achieving things in life as a BA? How are you contributing to the company? How you are learning personally and professionally along with the company? So per my belief, these are the ones I have personally tried, practiced in my career, and it works. Success mantra is not common for everyone. You may have your own way of succeeding in something, learning thing. Do whatever works best for you. Do whatever makes you productive, do whatever improves your productivity and help you learn. It's up to you. But for me, these are the something I've always tried and helped me a lot. So hard work and smart work, you have to have a good balance of the hard work and the smart work. If you're lucky working 12 hours a day and you're not doing the smart work, that is will be I don't think that will be really helpful for you to grow. So you have to have some smart work and hard work balance. Now, what exactly is these? uh, these are soft skills, that I cannot teach you. You have to develop on your own. How do you do things differently? you know every team works differently, every person works differently. So what is the different factor in you? You should not be following the other people like a cattle. You should not be like going with the flow. If something is really proven and great and have given great results, go ahead, follow them. Otherwise, you need to find your own smart way of working things, doing things differently. I'm not going to discuss more on this thing because everyone knows what does it mean by hard work and smart work. But during the courses, probably I'll get an opportunity to give you the real-time examples of hard work and the smart work. Time management, I just told you what is time management. Confidence is very important. You need to have confidence in you. If you're not confident, probably this will be problematic for you. If you have some questions but you're not asking, why are you not asking? Probably you may think I'm going to ask some silly question. People will make fun of me, or probably I will create some enemies here. Probably I'm going to kill someone's time, or I have no idea if I really understand things or not. So this is psychological effects. You don't have to worry about all those things. Any question is a question. No question is a silly question. If I did not understand, is a big thing for me. This might be really easy for someone, but for me, it is big because I did not understand. So what should I be doing? I need to have some confidence to raise my voice and ask questions. Hey, sorry to ask you, but it looks like I did not understand this correctly. I followed you until this time, but from here, I think I'm lost. I was with you up until this point in time, and then I feel lost. So would you be able to help me understand once again? It's not only with me, with everyone. Doesn't matter. If you ask questions, you learn. If you do not ask questions, you will never learn. So you have to have that confidence in you and build that confidence. Now, again, how do we build the confidence? It all depends upon your knowledge and your confidence and your practice of the things. If you have practiced a lot, you will get confidence by default. And as long as you're learning, you will build your confidence. So just keep learning. The only funda is keep learning, keep building your confidence, interact with the people, ask questions like you guys along with you. You don't need me. Let's say anyone, if you have any questions and you don't want to ask me, don't worry, just ask yourself. You guys can create one separate rooms for you guys for the training, for the practices. It's always better to work together. So teamwork is always great. You guys can have one separate group created somewhere, I don't know what platform, and then you guys can share your learnings, ask questions from each other. You found something which is very important and you wanted to share with other team members, go ahead and do that. So this is how you gain confidence and you learn more every day. You need to have self-belief and self-confidence and faith. You need to have faith in you. If you believe I cannot do this thing, you have already lost the battle. Trust me. So it's like your unconscious minds always gives you trouble, but unconscious mind does not understand things well. It just sees things and reacts accordingly. So it is very important for you to train your unconscious mind that I have faith. I know I can do this thing. Start saying yourself, yes, I can do this thing. Nothing is impossible for you. And see the difference. This is psychological effect. I'm telling you, it's very important. Your unconscious mind does not know what will happen when you go ahead and cut yourself with a knife, But the moment you start thinking, I have to cut my hand using the knife, say yourself like 6-7 times, and your unconscious mind will start training you, will start encouraging you to go ahead and cut your hand. That unconscious mind does not understand the pain. Same way, if you treat yourself positively, your unconscious mind will start training you for doing those positive things. So attract the positive waves. Be always positive and start saying yourself, yes, I can do this. It's very simple for me. I'm the best. And so you will be the best. Trust me. That's what I do always. Read and gain information. Reading is very important. You have to read a lot. But from when, I'll let you know. From today, do not read anything. This is your future task. You have to read a lot. Read at least 2 BA articles every day. And what sources you should be following, I'll let you know. For now, just stick to the training and do nothing. And the day I ask you, okay, now you guys ready for the other trainings, you can go ahead and start reading all those articles, review with you yourself, discuss along with yourselves, and try to clear the doubts. And if you still have any questions, you can always come back to me. Even after the training, I'm always happy to answer your questions and help clear your doubts. Revision is very important. You learn new things and do not revise. You don't do revisions. It's like it's gone. It's a human nature. We tend to forget things. So if I learn something today, if I do not revise it tomorrow or day after, I'm pretty much it's going to happen that you will forget some or all whatever you have learned. So revision is very important. Revision could be reading things back, doing some practices, doing some real-time work. So this is very important. So these are success mantra for me. If you really have to do something in your career, this is important for you, and you have to have these things in practice. Now, as I said, you can add as much points, whatever is working for you. For me, I believe these are the important things, and I personally do these things every day. Every day. Whoever knows me personally, you know me, how much I work and how much I read things, how much I learn new things every day. So it's very important for you. WH concepts, what exactly is this? We have discussed this before yesterday as well on a high level. So now I'm just giving you a very little tip. You are a business analyst. So what is your role and responsibilities? Your role mainly focuses on understanding the business requirement. When I'm saying understanding, that means you have to know what business needs and you have to document those business requirements. Now, where will you document? That depends what method of the software development you are in. If you're in traditional waterfall, you may have some other tools to capture, starting with Microsoft Office, Excel, whatever, or some fancy tools. If you are into the agile way of working, if you're doing Scrum, Kanban, Extreme, whatever, you will have a different tools. Some of the very famous tools in agile is Jira, Confluence, all those things you will be using. So as a BA, your role is limited to understand the business requirement. And what is the business requirement? Business requirement could be anything. If you see around you, your world, there are a lot of things are going on. Like you're going to shop something in the shopping mall or any of the stores. You use your credit card, you tap it, sometimes you swipe it, and it generates one invoice and bills that gives you, they have some register where they enter all those items and it does some calculation and gives you, okay, what is the tax you're going to pay? What is the total amount? What is the discount? Blah, blah, all those things. What do you think? How does all these things happen? There's a big IT folks, people like you and me are supporting all these applications. We cannot think of using all this without those IT supports. So everything is a project for you. Let's say if you're working for the store, you're working for Walmart, Walmart has like POS machines, in the stores, walking POS machines, the registers, they have online shopping, all those things. Whatever you see is being supported by the IT experts. Let's say you are a BA. What kind of requirement you can have? You can have a lot of requirements. You can have the graphical user interface requirements that we call it GUI. It's like, how should the page look like? Do we have to make this button red? Do we have to reduce the size of the button? Do we have to move it to left and right? Okay, there's a customer name and I see the customer name data. There's a customer phone number. I see the phone number. Now, right now, it is showing you the full phone number. Tomorrow, the Walmart can ask you, I don't want to show the full phone number on the invoice. Can we mask it? Can we have like starting with 201 and then star and then something? So that will be a new requirement for you. So you will be the BA who will go ahead and work with the business to understand what they need, and then you have to document all those things, review with the team and take it forward. Now, what is the process? We will have a separate detailed class on those processes. How are we going to capture the requirement and what should we do, what we should not be doing? For now, I gave you the background so that I can explain you what is this WH concept. So whatever requirement you're getting, whatever requirement. So this meeting will end in 10 minutes, so we'll have to rejoin. So whatever the requirement you're going to capture, the two things you have to do. The first thing you have to focus on first 3 whys. What is the requirement all about? Why this is needed and when? What is the target date by business and customer? First 3 things. During your requirement gathering, you do not have to focus on how you will be doing. The moment you start processing, the solutioning part, you will mix up things and then you will not be able to collect the requirement. So when you're capturing the requirement, you have to focus first three things. What is the requirement all about? What customer needs? Then why is the requirement has come up? Why customer needs it? And I told you why. When you ask why, you will be in a better situation to help customer to deep down of the requirement. Sometimes customer is asking something else, but actually they want something else. So when you ask them why, you would be able to help them understand. Say I took the example of the cell phone. I'm a business, I'm asking you, I need a cell phone that has 10 inches of a screen and 250 gig RAM, right? But when you ask customer, okay, I got it, this is your requirement, but why do you need it? So probably when I answer why, you would easily be knowing that, okay, this guy needs the tab, not the mobile. So you can help me, sir, I think you need tab. Let me explain you why. Let me explain you how. So this way you will help business and you also help yourself and your team's time. Now, what is the target date? This is very important. You understand the requirement, but the date could be really, really aggressive. Business may ask you, I want something tomorrow, or by this evening, or by next weekend. Is that something really possible? Probably the requirement is possible, that can be done, is feasible, but the time is not feasible. So it is very important for you to ask why. Otherwise, you will be just killing your time and the team's time and everyone's time, and there will be like huge fight, arguments. People will be on fire. How can we do these things in 5 days? Your development team will kill you, trust me. So you need to understand things why, and do not commit anything. When you are capturing the requirement, do not promise or do not commit anything. Just say, okay, right now I'm just capturing the requirement, and I'll let you know what is possible, what is not possible on the timeline, everything. I'll get back to you, not now. And then when you go back to your business, go back to your development team, your development team, your manager, the remaining two, where and how you will discuss. How is nothing but the solution part, and where probably customer can give you where they want, and there may be some limitations at your end as well. So you may not be able to deliver at that the customer desired locations. So you'll have to discuss that as well with your development team. How and where can we do these things? It's like on-site, off-site. On-site as in, you have to go to the customer's premises and work there. Off-site as in, we'll develop here in our office and then we'll deploy in the customer's premises. So now don't worry if you do not understand this development on-site, off-site. Don't worry. We will discuss those things in detail. For now, for you to understand is what is the location we have to deliver that project or requirement, or the piece of the requirement, and how are we going to do those things. When you say how, that is you're actually working on finding the solutions, feasibility and possibility. So you have to make sure when you're capturing the requirement, do not discuss where and how. Otherwise, you will get yourself confused, and the business as well. Business has to do nothing. How are you achieving these things? Business has to do nothing. Trust me. How are you achieving things? Business has just to see if you are delivering those things or not. How is your problem, not there. So just focus on what, why, and when. Okay. Next is some business, some common terms that you will be hearing. Business. When I'm saying business, who is business? Business is actually nothing but your customer, who is actually giving you the project. They are the business for you. So some people call them customers, some people call them business. They both are same. They are the one who are providing you, giving you the requirements. The sponsors, someone who is paying for that, right? Let's say there's one team who is giving you the requirement, but there's maybe another team who will pay you for that requirement. Or in some of the cases, business and sponsors may be the same group of people. It may be maybe one person or maybe a group of teams, teams or a group of people. So business is someone who is giving you the requirement. A sponsor is someone who is actually funding those requirements. You need some amount to work, So who will pay you for that? So the sponsors will be paying you. Now, sponsors might be from the business end and might be from your internal team as well. You're working for company A. Company B is your client. Company B is giving you the requirement. So company B is business for you. Now, probably company B is paying to your company A some department, and that department within your company A is actually paying you, sponsoring you for this project. So for you, in this case, business will be company B and a sponsor will be the team in company A that you are working currently in. So just to understand the difference, the sponsors are the people or the group of people or the team who is actually funding that project. And that could be internal and external. If you ask, can business be sponsors? Yes, of course, they can be sponsors. That depends how your company has, the work agreement. Now, stakeholders. What I'm saying is stakeholders, which is very common terms you will always hear in your IT industry, everywhere. People will be referring to stakeholders. So it has two things to understand. When someone is referring you stakeholders, they're basically referring you the key stakeholders, the high level people, maybe the directors, senior directors, CEOs, or all those top class people. So when you hear this term stakeholders, probably in simple words, I would assume they are actually referring the key stakeholders. But who are the actual stakeholders? If I have to define the stakeholders, stakeholder is every entity, every person, every team, everything who is directly or indirectly associated with that project is a stakeholders. I am someone who is funding. I may be one of the key stakeholders. I am someone who is actually giving you the requirement. I am also one of the key stakeholders. I am someone who is going ahead and capturing and understanding the requirement as a BA. I am also a stakeholder. I am someone who will actually work, develop those things. I am also a stakeholder. I'm a development stakeholder. There might be someone who is monitoring things, is also a stakeholder. There might be someone who is not directly interacting with you, but actually going ahead and using those applications that you will be building. That user will be your stakeholders. Account departments, human resource, sales, marketing. I have developed some product that my sales team will be selling in the market. They're also the stakeholders. The person who is buying, the company who is buying, the person who's going to use that is also a stakeholder. So everyone who is directly, indirectly associated with the project is a stakeholder, in simple words. But as I said, in your company, if someone is referring a stakeholder, probably they're referring the key stakeholders. Okay, MOM. What is MOM? Minutes of meeting. You will hear minutes, you will hear meetings, not meeting, actually minutes and MOM. So minutes is a very common term people use nowadays. And what is this? It's nothing but to capture the high level, the main points of the discussion. Let's say you're going ahead and meeting with business to capture the requirement, and you're writing some notes, what we discussed, what was in his scope, what was not in his scope, the high level. Now, this minutes is not your actual requirement document. This is just to capture the high level discussions, and some actions. Probably we discussed 5 major things. I noted it down. Out of 5 major things, there's one action that I have to work when I go back to my desk, or probably customer has to revert to you with something. So there's one action. So in the minutes, you will write the main points that you have discussed and what is the action. Now, what does this minutes look like? What is the format that we have? How do we write? We'll have a separate class on those things. We'll discuss in detail. BA and PM. BA is business analyst. PM is project manager or program manager. So these are the common terms you will always hear. Grade out the first one, kickoff, and the last one, support. There's a reason. Some of the teams, in my personal experience, they include kickoff and support as well in the software development lifecycle. Some of them, they do not. Some of them, it starts with the requirement gathering and ends when that actual product is deployed. Deployed as in delivered to the customer, Since it is a IT training, so I'm using the technical words, which is deployed. Deployed as in deployment is done. We have delivered something to the customer. So you will always hear the term deployment, or install. Some people, they also call it install. Installation is done. So this is something you will be hearing. So for you, you should actually memorize all these points, starting with kickoff, then requirement gathering, then analysis, then design, then coding and testing, deployment, and then support. Now, what are these points? I will not take that much time. We'll give you a very quick review. So kickoff is nothing but to kickstart of the projects. The very first level meeting where everybody will be discussing what is the project is all about, and officially we are starting this project today. So in the kickoff meeting, as a BA, you may be invited, you may not be invited. So don't worry about that. Basically, this kickoff happens at the higher level, the management level. They have got some agreements done. They have some funding cleared. Now they have to start the project. So how they will start? So obviously, before they have anything to start, they will at least find out who the project manager will be, probably who the BA will be as well, because BA is a very key person who will be actually going ahead and understanding and capturing the requirement. So in most of the cases, BA will always be there. Some of the cases of what I have seen is the PMs, they actually capture the requirement initially and then they hand it over to the BS with some details and the background. So in the kickoff meeting, probably your business senior folks will be there, your PMs will be there, probably someone from the sales, from someone from the finance, someone from the human resource, probably you will be there. So this kickoff meeting is nothing but to officially start. Okay, now we have been cleared everything with the sign off, blah, blah, blah. Now this sign off is not the requirement sign off. This sign off is the project sign off, which is happening at the top level, So they have other terms and condition, and then they will sign off the project. And then this project will come to one of the project teams. Let's say your team got this project. So your project manager will be part of the kickoff. Probably you as a BA will be part of this kickoff meeting. So this will be just to give you a high level background of the project, high level timelines, high level customer expectations, high level budget, and you will be given a project, and then you have to make sure you are doing the project within those expectations. Now, you can ask me, are they captured somewhere? Yes, in most of the time, you will get a project charter. Now, what is this project charter? You as a BA do not have to worry about that. It's a PM responsibility. But just to give you a background, project charter is nothing but to high-level business requirement document. So this is actually not a BRD. It's something kind of a contract. This charter will have everything high level business stakeholders. You will see high level, the timelines, probably a high level budget. Charter does not have the budget in detail, but probably a high level. Okay, this is the maximum budget we have to complete the project. All those high levels, and based on that charter document, that document will also say who will be the project manager, who will be the BA, blah blah blah, all those things. Who will be the technical architect, and based on that charter document, your project manager will actually create a project and will assign to you as a BA. Now, how that PM is creating the project could be a whole lot different story, using some internal tools. Probably a project was already created by someone and that has been assigned to your project manager. So don't go on those things, just understand things. In the kickoff meeting, probably you will be given a charter document, your project manager, your team will be given. And from there, the first stage of the software development lifecycle is to actually understand what is needed, the requirement gathering. So you have to collect the requirement. Now, each of these chapters we will discuss in detail. When we say requirement gathering, what does it mean? And it has like huge 1-2 hour sections discussion for us. So we'll do that separately in future meetings, in our future trainings. So once you have captured the requirement, now this capturing requirement will only focus on what is needed, why needed, and when needed, and sometimes where needed. But basically 3 things: what, why, and when. Now you will do analysis. The further analysis is like nothing but elicitation of the requirement. And now I have captured everything. That requirement may have a lot of things that I really don't need, or probably it's not possible, not feasible. So you will further analyze that, go a little deep down, and you find out, okay, what can be done, what cannot be done, if not done, why, if done, why, if cannot, can we do things differently? Do we have some limitations on the technology we have, the resources we have, the timeline we have, all blah, 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 all those things. So during analysis, you do all those things. And whom you do this analysis with? Your development team. Most of the time, your managers and some experts, probably from outside. But in general, you will only be doing these things along with your development team. When I'm saying development team, this is everyone, the developers, the testers, all those things, When I'm saying developers, the backend developers, front-end developers, if you're not aware of all these terms, just relax. We will discuss in detail later on. For now, you will be doing those analysis along with your team. Now, design. Design is very important. Now, I know what is needed. I have gone ahead and reviewed what time it will take, kind of thing, high level, what is the budget it will require, what resources I need. Now, I have to start working. So before actually I start working, I need to have some design, right? What should be, it's like you're building a new house. You need some house architects, on what basis you will know, okay, where I'm going to do the piling, where I'm going to do the wall and all those things, where I'm going to have the kitchen, where I'm going to have the bedroom, how my master bedroom should look like. So if, let's say, your requirement is to build a house, so you will go and understand the requirement. What is the house? What kind of requirement customer needs? 3-bedroom, 2-bedroom, master bedroom, blah, 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 all those things. And then you will do some analysis of if that is actually possible or not. And then you will do some designs. You need to have the architect, for that house. Otherwise, you cannot work. Now, the question is, do we really need architect always? Yes and no, both. If something is already built, a house was already built, there's some maintenance project you have got, you do not need the design, right? Because this was already built. But something which was not there, or something probably you are going ahead and doing some changes, you may need design. So design may or may not need, but when needed, you have to do the design. And then you will actually start coding. Coding, as in now you have the house requirement, you did your analysis, you did some architecture. Now you're actually going ahead and start building that house. So coding in a development technical term, now everything is done. Now I'm going to go ahead and start writing codes for that requirement. Once the code is written, you will have to do some testings. How would you ensure if the requirement is the work that we have done is actually as per the requirement? You have to do some testings. So testing itself has a big word. You will do some unit testing at your level, some functional testings, at your level, some component testings, and then this will be end-to-end testing by the customers. You will have some user acceptance testing. You will have all those, SIT kind of testing. So we will discuss in detail. For now, you have to understand whatever we have developed, somebody has to test and approve if this is as per the requirement or not. Now it is tested, it is approved. Customer says, okay, this is it, exactly we wanted. Now we are approving this one. Now you go ahead and deliver this to us. So now the next stage of the software development lifecycle is you will go ahead and actually deploy or install that software or the product to the business environment or as per the requirement, whatever the environment customer is giving you. Once it is deployed, you have some support window, and that this again comes on the contract. Business might be asking you, once you have installed or deployed, you have to provide me like 30-day support or 90-day support or maybe a week support. So what that support will look like, this will again be discussed by the management. And during this support, are we really going to give the trainings, or are we really going to monitor things if something's stopping, not working? There's some concern issue, so we will fix it, free of cost. Let's say something is broken, it's not working. So during the support window, I will not charge you anything. I will go ahead and fix it and deliver it to you free of cost, right? But once that support window is passed, probably I will charge you, unless you have annual maintenance kind of thing from us. It's like all business worlds. You don't have to worry about that as a BA. So what you have to worry about is, if support window is there, agreed from the business, as a BA, you will have to be available to provide any support because you are the main person business knows. So business will reach out to you always, probably your project manager or probably you, because you have interacted really, really larger than any other team members. You're always working very closely with business. So they will reach out to you and say, okay, hey, this is not working. So now you have to go and do some analysis. When customer is saying that not working, what does it mean? Is it really a bug? Is it really something that's not working? Or is that something some training needs? Customer needs some training. He doesn't know how to use it. Let's say the phone. Customer is using typing and not pressing the send button and saying, hey, your phone does not send the message. It's a bug. It's a problem. I'm not going to use it. So as a BA, you will have to analyze that issue. What exactly is happening? So you will again spend some time, work with business and ask, what do you mean by not working? So business will say, hey, I'm just typing this message, but it's not sending to anyone. So you will say, hey, sir, this is a training issue. You need to know how to use the phone. You have to write a number and then you have to press the send icon button. Then only this will send. So my product has no issues. It's all about you don't know how to use it. So this comes to training. So under support, do we really have to provide training free of cost? It's everything comes in the support contract that your company is making with the other company or the business. This could be internal or external. You might be working for the internal business as well. So I'm just giving you an example of what you do under support. What is your responsibility under support? So you have to, first level, you have to do some analysis. And if you do not understand something, you will reach out to a development team and they will help you understand what the customer is actually asking from you. So this is the phase, the life cycle, like life cycle, when I'm saying it's like generic English term, life cycle, like a baby borns and one day he dies or she dies. And he or she does a lot of things, he goes to school, marry, baby, blah, 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 and then he dies. So a human life cycle, this is a human life cycle. When somebody burns or somebody dies, it's human life cycle. Same goes ahead with the software development life cycle. If you're developing a software, there are different life cycles that you have to go through. So this 8 things are part of those software development life cycle. Start with the kickoff, then requirement gathering, then analysis, then design, then coding and testing, deployment and support. This is something you have to memorize really well. And the interviewer will definitely ask you what is software development lifecycle and what is your role as a BA in each phase of this lifecycle. This is a very common and very hit question, and you will 100% see this question in the interview. I'm telling you. So you have to prepare this question very well. So we will help you. When we actually start working this in the software development lifecycle, I'll tell you what you are doing in the requirement gathering, what you're doing in the analysis, and what is your role in design, what is your role in coding, blah, 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 all those things. All right, so hope this is clear. There's nothing to understand more, but to memorize and practice. You have to just memorize these terms step by step. You should not be like shuffling and changing the position. This goes 1 till 8. Yes, you have any questions?
In this whole life cycle, and a business analytic could be analysis could be hired in any place.
I'm not sure if I understood your question correctly, but I think you're asking what phase of this life cycle will have more work for the BA. Is that something I understood you correctly?
I mean, as a business analyst, he could be hired in any step of the life cycle. Means he could be hired in a kickoff meeting, or he could be hired in the while the project is in a testing mode, or it could be in any.
You can be hired in any of the phases, but ideally, what happens, you will be working from the start. Probably you may not be hired in the kickoff meeting. After a kickoff meeting, probably the project manager or team will start building and acquiring the team. So during that phase, you may be hired, or let's say there was a BA already working, or he or she moved to another project or resigned, whatever. Then you may be hired in middle of the project. So probably at that point in time, the project is in design phase, or the project is in coding phase. So you may start from there. So plugging in middle of the project sometimes is difficult. How do you handle? We will. Hopefully, we'll also study that as well. But the answer is yes, you can be hired in any of the phases.
Right. Not from 1 to 8. It could be in 3 or 4 stages. Exactly. And then the person has to catch up with the previous and the future ones, right?
Exactly. True.
Okay. Thank you.
True. And as a BA, you may not necessarily be working just for one project. Probably you may be assigned 3 or 4 projects altogether. So you will be working like with 3 or 4 different clients at the same time. So probably in one project, you are in the kickoff phase. In one project, you're in like support or deployment, whatever. But yeah, the answer is yes, you can be hired in any of the phases during the software development lifecycle.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, guys? If you have any question, please raise your hand. Next is the project lifecycle. Now, this is something you don't need to really worry about that. This is for the project managers, not the BAs. The project has some life cycle within one project. What is project actually? Okay, I'll discuss this in detail in the future courses. The project is something that has end and start date. There has to be some end date. If you do not have the end date, that is ideally is not a project, is an operations. Operations does not have any end date. They just keep on working. So if you have an end date, that is a project. So the project has a life cycle. If that is ending somewhere, then there's a life cycle. As we have the software development life cycle, we are developing something within one project. I got one project to build a new iPhone, So that building a new iPhone is one project for me. One project. And that project has a development life cycle. We are actually developing the new iPhone, right? So during the development, we have a different life cycles we just studied. Now we're learning what is the project life cycle. Once that iPhone is built, developed, manufactured, so that project will be ending. So what is the project life cycle? You don't have to be confused. So project life cycle is nothing but we initiate something. You're initiating something, taking initiative and starting a new project. Now, once the project initiated, now how is this different? Initiation probably can have your kickoff meeting. Initiation is nothing but the kickoff meeting, right? And then you have to plan the project. Let's say I have to build new iPhone, or maybe I have to build a new house. I need to have some plans with me. Without the plan, I cannot work. This is very, very best saying that I always say. If you spend 2 hours in planning, you will definitely end up saving at least 8 hours during the executions. So do not worry about spending 2 hours during the planning. This will save you 8 hours. If you save 2 hours, you will end up spending 8 hours here and there. So without a plan, you cannot do any work. Even in your kitchen, you cannot cook biryani without a plan. You need to have a good plan for that. What I need, blah blah blah, all those things. So planning is very important. So for any of the projects, initiation is the first phase, and then you have planning and a schedule. You have to plan how I'm going to do these things, and then you actually start developing. You actually start working all those things, the actual on ground work. And during the work, you also have to monitor and control things. You will not monitor how is it going. When I'm saying monitor, as in, are we working as per the plan? Are we spending the amount, the budget that we have been allocated, and we have planned, okay, by this point in time, we will be spending this much of amount. Are we on track? Or are we over budget? Are we under budget? Or did we really complete all those things? So this everything comes under monitor and control. If you're going below or above that control limit, you have to control things. Let's say you had $100 for one week work, and just after 2 days you spend $80. You have $20 with you, so you have to control that cost and budget. Otherwise your project will fail. So this monitoring and controlling is something being done by your project manager, not you. Project manager might be reaching out to you, asking your feedback, but he or she will be ultimately responsible for monitoring and controlling, and closing as well. Closing as in, we have to close something. So what are the things? How would you ensure that the project is closed? Customer will not pay you unless the project is closed. So there are some closing statements, some closing formalities that you have to do. Then both parties will be set apart. Okay, now I'm done. Now it's all yours. You do whatever you wanted to do. So this everything is actually just these responsibilities lie under project manager's roles. You don't have to worry about that. But why I'm talking it here is, you need to understand what is the project life cycle. So you initiate things, then you plan things, and then you actually start working on the ground, and then you monitor and control things, and then you close things. There are 5 stages in the project life cycle, and all software development life cycle lies into these 5 stages. Now, under planning, what are the different software development life cycle falls? I'll let you know in different classes. For now, you just have to memorize these things and nothing else, the stages. Most likely will not be asked this question, what is the project life cycle? But you may be asked as well, because as I said on day one, BA works really parallel to the project manager. So you are ultimately a next project manager, right? So you need to understand things. That's all. Okay, any questions on this one? On project life cycle?
No, we don't. I'm good.
Okay, one question. As a business analyst, you are in a software project which is currently under initiating phase, the first phase, where we are initiating the project, and you are planning scope management. You are actually planning what is the scope is needed, and what we have to do, what we do not have to do. Which of the below technique you should be using? I want everybody to answer, please. You can answer in the chat. You can write your ABC, just ABC, right in the chat. You see a chat window on the Zoom. Just write your answer, A, B, or C. And if you don't understand the question, just ask me. I'll answer you the question. I'll make you understand. Help make you easy for you to understand. Quick, guys. We don't have that much time. We are running out of time.
I don't know the answer, but I'm guessing D.
D. Okay. Okay, Simon says yes. Wasim, Amr says D. Wasim, do we still have Samira on call?
Sorry?
No, I'm asking what is the answer. Just type A, B, C, or D in the chat.
Okay.
Wasim, make it quick, guys. We don't have that much time.
Yeah, it's A. I've already typed it in chat.
I did not see your type. Chat in the Zoom chat, not WhatsApp chat.
No.
I don't. Oh yeah, I just saw it. A. Samira, what is your answer? Quick. You don't have to be.
I changed my answer D to A for majority.
All right. So the answer is C. So you are in a very initial phase of the software development. You're in the initiating phase. So initiating phase, like you're kicking off. You actually have not started doing any other things. So during the kickoff meeting, when you have the requirements, basically you'll be using the expert judgment and nothing else. You don't know what is the requirements and how would you use 3-point estimation. What is this 3-point estimation? We will learn. What is Monte Carlo? We don't know. We'll learn. Project charter, I just told you. Project charter is a very high level, the very first labeled document that you will be given that will tell the high level of all the projects, the budgets, the resources. So what is remaining here is expert judgment. You need some expert advice from the people and nothing else, in the very initial phases. And when you actually start working on the ground, you will learn a lot of things. Next question. Don't take like more than 5-10 seconds. You have captured the business requirement. Now, what I'm saying, read the question carefully. You have captured the business requirement, discussed and agreed with internal team. What will be one of your deliverables? Now, what is deliverables? You know all that, right? We do something and we deliver something. That final piece of the work is deliverables. Like I'm building a house. So what will be my deliverables? To hand over the house key to someone. I'm writing a book. Book will be the deliverables. I'm making a tea. So ultimately, I'm giving teas to someone. The tea is my deliverables. So here, you have captured the requirement. You agreed the requirement with the internal team and everything is done. So what is something you're producing? Answer, please. Quick, guys. Okay, I don't have that much time. So moving to the next, the requirement documentation. So whatever you capture the requirement, you have to document somewhere. So ultimately you are, delivering the requirement documentations, So basically the business requirement is captured in some of the documentation. Now what we call it is a separate story. We call it BRD, blah, blah, we'll talk separately. But the deliverables is the requirement document. Next question, there's a requirement that initially you marked as possible out of scope. You said this will not be done. This is not possible. However, during the scope definition, when you are actually drilling it down, finding the scoping and all, it appears to be in scope. Initially, you thought this is not possible, but now you believe, okay, I think this can be done. So what is the best possible way to confirm? The question is asking, you said, you believe, as a BA, you believe this was not possible, this cannot be done. Now, again, you believe based on your research, yeah, right, it looks like it can be done. So how would you confirm that if this can be done or cannot be done? I'm just trying to make it very simple for you to understand the question.
D.
Okay, any other answers?
D.
Guys, everyone please participate. Any other answer, please?
Yeah, D. I've given in the chat.
For some reason, I don't see the chat. I'm sorry, my bad. Okay, yes, answer is D. It looks like, yes, answer is, obviously, if you do not understand something, you have any doubts, you will definitely go ahead and talk to your project team and they will help you understand, or someone who has worked before on the project. So this is the right answer. One of your team members decides to further break down an epic into smaller requirements. What activity your project team is performing? Actually, I did not teach you guys. It's not talking about there was a larger piece of the work, and now your team members is making it smaller parts so that this can easily be managed and work. So what is this activity is doing? It's called decomposition. I did not teach you, so I'm not gonna have you guess things. So decomposition is nothing but to slicing it down to the smaller manageable chunks. The last question, during user acceptance testing, customer requested to add a new feature to the product, which is critical to the business. Your team confirms it is feasible. As a business analyst, what should be your approach? It is asking, you're doing UAT, business acceptance testing, and UAT is done once the project is developed, completed. Now, business is testing if this can be accepted. During the test, the business is asking you something to add, and your team confirms, yeah, this can be done. But as a BA, what should be your approach? Quick, we don't have time. The meeting will end.
I'll go for A.
Okay.
B.
Who said B?
Me. Samira.
Yeah.
Samira, okay. Amar Bhai said yes. Samira said B. And Wasim, Saima?
Yeah, it's B. I've
B.
already.
B, okay. Saima?
B.
B, cool. Let me see the answer. Yes, B. You should not be accepting. Even that is possible, you will not be accepting things. You have to go through some change management process. Even that is possible, you will not accept and you will not deny even. You will not say, I will not take it. You will take it through some change request because we are doing the UAT. It's like everything is done. The development is done. Now you're testing to accept or reject. So at that point in time, we cannot add something to the project. We'll have to go through some change request process. Now, what this process looks like, we'll discuss in detail when we study further. Oh, here's one more. One of your team members approaches you and suggests to add a small feature to the requirement which business has not asked, whereas will certainly be happy to get it. Okay. What also it will not impact delivery timeline. What will you do? Okay, you got it. One of your team members says, we can add more to the business requirement and this will not impact anything and business will be really happy. So what will be your approach? What will you do?
C.
Cool. Looks like this is scope creep. You should not be doing this thing. Hence, you will deny your team member. Okay, so thank you very much, all of you, for this time today. Today, we are going to start Software Business Analysis Essentials Part 1. Give me one quick second, please. Just 1 second. So this is going to be a very important class for you guys as a beginner business analyst. The total class, like Software Business Analysis Essentials 1, we will be completing in at least 2 classes or more than that. That depends how soon you're connecting with me and how is your understanding going on with the subject. And this will be like a foundation course for you. So please pay full attention to this one. This is going to be really a key milestones for you guys. In this class, not today, throughout the course, the part 1, we will be discussing a lot of things, a lot of the backgrounds about the requirement, how things works, what is your roles and responsibilities, how and what business is expecting from you, all those basic things as a beginner. So I have refined the course materials considering you guys are the beginners. So I have removed all those technical, big things. I don't want you guys to get confused. So, but this is going to be really helpful for you guys. So I'm requesting you to please pay full attention. And just in case if you have not seen the previous videos, there's chapter 1, chapter 2, please go ahead and see that before you actually go ahead and take this class, because you will feel lost if you have not seen the previous videos in the classes. So let's get started then. So this is the agenda for the whole course. As I said, we will be completing in 2 or 3 classes. I'll try to close in 2 classes, but this might take more than 2. That depends, but that is perfectly fine. The purpose is we have to understand things. So I'm going to go ahead and discuss with you like the background and the introduction of the business analysis and the requirements as well. And then, what is your roles and responsibilities when I'm saying requirement gathering and all those things? So what actually you do, we will study here. And I'll also let you know some skills and attributes of a business analyst. If you are a business analyst, what skills and attributes you must have to succeed in this field within the IT industry. So those things we will try to cover in this course. And then I'll give you a little bit flavor and idea. How do you elicit requirements? What are the techniques you should be using when you're actually eliciting the requirements? This elicitation is different than the requirement gathering. So just giving you a little background. I've spoken this before as well, and we will continue talking all these points so you can just refresh your ideas and you can learn more. And then once you have the requirement capture, how do you do the analysis on those requirements? And then how do we define the requirements? So this requirement definition, probably we will be doing in the next class. This is going to be kind of a full class. And here we will talk what is requirement, what drives the requirement, what are the different aspects of the requirement, what happens when we do not collect the correct requirements, how is this impacting business, project, and you, and all those stuffs. And I'll give you some facts, the data, what happens when we are not capturing the correct requirements. So all those things we will be discussing in this requirement definition part of this course. And then, how do we handle the requirement changes? So in traditional waterfall, there's a way of accepting the change request during the requirement. Once I have captured something and business wants to change it. So what is the process? How do we change it? So we will discuss all those things during this course. And I'll give you a little bit idea about the traceability metrics. Now, what is this metrics? Why do we use it? What is the life cycle of this traceability metrics? What is the benefit? And if we should be using or not, we will discuss in detail. So some of the questions you will definitely will be asked in the interviews about the traceability metrics. They will ask you, what is traceability metrics? What is your understanding? When do you create traceability metrics? What is the life cycle of the traceability metrics? And probably the interviewer may ask you something about the types of the metrics. Like, they would want to understand your understanding on the forward and the backward traceability metrics. So all these things we will be studying within this course within the next 2 or 3 classes. All right, so what is the objective? Probably today, the objective is you will understand what is the roles and responsibilities of a business analyst, what is the requirement, and what is the role of a requirement in the project. How do we define requirements and how do we manage requirements? So all those things you will understand after this course. And probably you will also get a little bit flavor on the use case concepts. Now, I'm seeing a little bit flavor, so don't worry about that. We will have a separate classes where we will study in detail about the use case and everything. But I'll try to give you a little idea so that you know what exactly is this. And then you will be able to create, some of the modeling diagrams. When I'm saying modeling diagrams, this may also include use case and other things as well. So what actually is going to look like, we'll study. And then you will be able to create the software requirement specification documents. SRS is the main document that serves as a contract between the development team and the business. This is like a technical requirement documentations. We have one more, BRD, the business requirement documentation, which is core kind of simple layman English language documentation that is initially we write, and then we convert those requirements into the technical documentations. The same thing technically we convert, and that we name it software requirement specification documents. So we will discuss in detail about all those documents. But today, probably I'll give you a little bit idea. Now you should be able to apply the techniques to any of the real-time use cases, or the case studies in the business analyst world. And when you are going ahead and capturing the requirement. And obviously, I'll give you some important tips, which is very important, so stay tuned. Key points, as I've always been telling you guys, you do not have to try to memorize or, anything. You don't need to, unless you see this symbol. So wherever in any of the slides, any of the materials, if you see this red symbol, that means you have to memorize all those things. So I will try to keep it very minimal because I don't want you guys to just memorize and forget tomorrow. It's like human nature. We memorize something today and we tend to forget tomorrow. So don't try to do that. Instead, try to understand the concepts behind all those things. Ask as many questions you can, and I will answer. Okay, some key terms that I'll keep updating during the courses. You might see some of the words repeating. You might see some of the new words added. The purpose behind having this page is these are the broadly used terms that you will always hear in your business analyst journey throughout your career. So you'll hear people talk using the word like scope creep, goal plating, all those things. So we have discussed most of these words before in the previous classes. Couple of new things I believe I have added here is probably the engineering and the UAT, and there was one more. So engineering, when I'm saying, I'm referring to the technical team, the developers. When I'm saying engineering team, this might include the development team, which is the developers, the software developers, plus the QA, the quality analyst folks who actually do testings. This may also include your database team members and the front end, back end developers, everyone. So we refer as an engineering team or development team. So this includes everyone. And then UAT is nothing but user acceptance testing. So whatever you develop, somebody from the user, from the business side, has to test and approve those changes if those are as per the requirement or not. So we will be learning more about the UAT processes, and you will keep hearing these terms like engineering and all those terms. So keep an eye on this thing, and you see here the red symbol. So you have to kind of memorize these terms so that you're not feeling lost when somebody is saying, there was a scope creep. Sorry about the tongue twister. So you should not be confused. If someone is using the word gold plating, you should not be confused. What the hell is this guy talking all about when he says gold plating? So you should be aware about all those things. Now, if you don't know, I've already spoken in the previous classes. You go and see the video. You will learn more about all those things. All right, so let's get officially started. Introduction and definition. So who is a business analyst? In simple words, who is a business analyst? There could be like hundreds of definitions of a BA, but I believe these are the main things that you should be knowing. As a BA, you should know who the BA is and what BA does. We'll see in the next slides. So BA is someone who is liaising between IT and engineering team and the customer, improving the quality of IT services and analyzing business needs. What does it mean? You will be working as the mediator, like you will bridge the gap between the business and the development team. Business has some idea, some problem, some issue, some requirement that you will go and understand. And you also have some engineering team who will be actually working, developing those things as per the business needs. So in ideal cases, BA is playing a very key and crucial role in between, who is like bridging the gap between the development team and the business. So you will understand the requirement from business, passing it to the engineering team. And if engineering team has any questions, you will pass it back to business if you cannot answer those questions. So that's the main role you're doing. This is a very important role. Why important? Because if I, as a BA, do not understand things clearly, I may not be able to pass it on correctly. So that there will be a different version of the requirement. So business may ask something, I may understand something, and I may make someone understand something else. And then now you can understand the flow, how the requirement is going to be delivered. Obviously, this will not be what customer expected. So this is very important for you as a BA to understand the requirement properly and try to bridge the gap between these two parties, So the requirement could be anything. Requirement could be, improving the quality of any existing IT services, could be developing something new, could be business doesn't need as of now. There's no need, but you as a BA analyzing different facts and data, and you're recommending things to the business. You know what? I know you don't need something right now, because this is what I have been observing. And as per the trend, it looks like you would need definitely going onwards. So why don't you take a look and think about this one? We can take it forward. So that is also one of the roles of a business analyst, to help improve the processes, help improve the services, the technology, and the business. So this is one of your key roles. You will not be limited to understanding the requirement. You will also be doing all those additional things, which is part of your job and responsibilities as well. So I think I have discussed all these 3 or 4 points. You are responsible for capturing the requirement efficiently, and you are someone who is actually trying to understand what business needs. When I'm saying the problem could be anything. Business is facing some of the problems and business doesn't know how to take it forward. So you are the one who will work very closely with business and try to understand their problems and suggest them the solution. That is your role, And obviously a BA has to be a problem solver. When I'm saying problem solver, as in, it's not actual problems, could be business needs, all those things. And when the development team is working on something, they may have other form of the problem that you will be working very closely with them to understand their need, answer their questions if you can, based on your experience and the captured requirement. If you cannot, you will go back to business and you will ask, and you will answer back to the development team. So what does a BA do? If you go to Google or any other form, like YouTube and all, you will find hundreds and thousands of responsibilities for a BA. Every video and every website has a lot of things. They all are kind of common, but they say differently. For me, I would like to categorize everything within these three major categories, and within these three categories, you can have a number of different responsibilities for the BA. So BA, what actually BA does? Very simple. You have to gather the requirement. Once it is gathered, you have to elicit the requirement. Now, again, what is the difference between requirement gathering and requirement elicitations? I have spoken this in detail in the previous videos, but we'll continue to talk about all those things. So elicitation is like doing a little further. Once you have captured the requirement, elicitation is actually kind of understanding what is needed and how can we do this thing. And when you capture the requirement gathering is nothing but what is needed. How and when probably we can do when we are doing elicitations or we are analyzing those requirements. So as a BA, you have to first collect the requirement from business, elicit the requirement working with the business, with your development team and all, and then you analyze further, how do we take things forward, and then you document all those requirements in some of the forms. The standard form is BRD, Business Requirement Documents. And in different companies, they name it differently. Now, some of the companies, they call it CBR, Customer Business Requirement. Someone calls FRD, Functional Requirement Documentation. And some of the companies, they call it BRD. In some of the companies, they only have SRS and nothing. And they use that SRS as the same documentation as a BRD and as an SRS both. So you will find different names, in different companies, but the idea is same behind all those documents. You have to document whatever the requirement you have collected from the business, and then you will review all those requirements with your engineering team, with your manager, with your peers, with your business, and finally you have to take approval from the business. On what basis you will know this requirement is final? There will not be any changes. So the base is you have to baseline these things. And what do you mean by baseline? Baseline is like officially approved documents. So business will review your document and business will approve it if they do not find any changes or that they do not find any issues, conflicts. They will say, okay, this is what exactly I want you guys to develop. So please go ahead, and they will provide you an official sign off through email or maybe through written documentation with a stamp and sign. It all depends how your company works. So this is very important. Now, the different phases and different ways of collecting, eliciting, analyzing things we'll discuss in later on in different classes. Business analyst actually is a customer face. You will be representing customer, business, or the user to the development or engineering community. What does it mean? It means business may or may not directly interact with the development team. I am a developer and I'm working on some of the requirements. I am writing codes. If I have any questions, I may not be always able to reach out to business and ask them the questions. There could be many reasons, some process flows that business company has defined where probably a business analyst will only be the person who will be interacting with business just to avoid confusions and our different commitments. Or probably business is super busy that the business does not have time for every individual developer's interactions. There could be any reason. So in that case, basically, where the developer is going to go and ask the questions, obviously the business analyst, because business analyst is someone who has good understanding of the requirements. So he will or she will only be the person who will be answering those questions. So if there's a question coming to your way, so you will go and see your documentations and try to find an answer on your own. You would also not want to go ahead and touch with business in every single questions. If you cannot find, and if this is stopping your development team to go ahead and work, probably you will go back to the business, ask the questions, and you will answer. So there are different ways of answering those questions. You can simply ask and pass on like a postman, or you probably can write some documentation, review with business, have some sign off, go back and tell the development team. You can simply call a meeting with everyone, virtual meeting or face-to-face meeting. That depends how you're working. And you can call everyone, the development team, probably the entire development team, or just someone from the team who needs this answer. and the business and you, and obviously you may also invite some other folks in in the call, and you guys can answer, discuss and answer those things. So you will be working like a facilitator, and this is a very important role for you. Now, obviously, you have to supervise testing. What does it mean? It means, because you know what business needs. So once the development is done and unit testing is done, and something has been deployed to the QA environment where people can test, So what does it mean by QA environment? This means probably before I officially invite business for the user acceptance testing, I would want to test it before that, so that we can find all possible errors, problems, and fix it before we actually call the business. So we have certain environment created. We call it, the quality testing, the QA. This will be probably mostly internal to the development team and the internal QA team. So once the unit testing is done, we will test the end-to-end functionality in the QA environment. And here, BA plays a very crucial role, because BA is the only person, probably one of the persons who understand the details of the requirements. So BA probably might take a lead and do the testing on his or her own, or probably he or she can ask or invite the development team to test and show him the results, so that the BA can verify with the actual requirements and see if everything is as per the acceptance criteria and as per the agreed requirements or not. There may be a lot of things, you might some problems, issues, and then you will get it fixed, and then you will move. And then BA, under the testing processes, BA will invite the users, the business, actual business. They will come and they will test and they will approve. So probably you may still get some of the issues from business. The issues probably we missed to find in the QA processes, or probably business may have changed their mind and they want to add something or remove something from there. So that could be, one of the processes. But how do we handle all those things? We will discuss detail in the further classes. I see someone has raised a hand. Any questions? Please go ahead.
Yes, I wanted to ask you, does apart from gathering and eliciting the requirements, so the BA has to do the testing as well with the QA team, or the analyst does it separately?
Okay, the question is it required that BA has to do testing on his own, like hands-on? The answer is no, but this is highly recommended. The ultimate responsibility lies with the QA folks, the QA team. They will do the testing and they will give you the results, the test results, right?
Okay.
Probably they may not give you the test result. They will simply fail or pass it, and they will send it back to the development team for the rework. And then again goes to the QA, and they test and pass it. And then they move it to the next environment, which is the UAT environment. But as a BA, this is highly recommended for you to keep an eye on those everything, because you don't want to face a situation where business is finding issues in the UAT, and then everybody is like embarrassed. Okay, how did you guys do UAT testing, internal testing, the low-level testing? Why did not you find these issues? So we don't want to waste business time. So this is highly recommended for a BA to keep an eye on the test results. If you have bandwidth, if you have time, please go ahead and do some hands-on. I know you may not be able to do the technical testings if you're not technical, but you would obviously be able to do end-to-end testings. The component testing you cannot do. The automation scripts you cannot do. You cannot do automation testing. So this is core technical for you. This might be core technical for you. If you're technical enough, that is fine. Otherwise, you would want to avoid this testing, but you would want to see the test results. And you will see, okay, what has happened. And you will verify the test results with your requirement. And then you will be in a situation to know if everything is as per the requirement or not. So that is the whole process. As a BA, you should be focusing on.
Okay.
Now, just to add a point, we are talking with reference to the traditional waterfall software development lifecycle. We are not talking anything about the agile. The agile way of working has entirely a different way of handling these things. So this training is basically focused on the traditional waterfall. So don't get confused. I have no idea if we will have time to go for the agile way of working training as well. Nowadays, like almost all the companies, 90% of the companies are moving towards agile. So they want you to learn agile as well, agile way of handling things and agile way of working. But to get the actual field knowledge and the expertise on the BA things, it is important for you to understand the traditional waterfall way of working. And then you can easily switch to agile way of working. So we'll discuss later on. So the answer to your question might be completely different when we work agile way of, we do the agile way of testing and all. All right,
Okay.
so
Thank you.
So the next. What is the roles and responsibilities? This is the continuation of the same topic, and this will be like taking a little time for us to understand in detail. This is very important. You have to really be very focused on this topic. What is software development life cycle, and what is your role in each of the phases of the software development life cycle? As I have been telling you before as well, people will be asking, interviewer will be asking you questions 100%. Okay, what do you understand about this SDLC, and what is your roles and responsibilities in each of the phases? Can you help me with an example of your current project? So this is a very important question. So please pay attention to this one. So there are different phases of the software development lifecycle. We have studied in the previous videos. If you have not seen, please go and see it. First starts with the requirement gathering. The first phase of the software development lifecycle is to understand what is the requirement. So as a BA, what is your role? You are playing a very key role. You will be the only one, or probably the one of the folks who will initially interact with business and understand the requirement. What is the need? The project need, the product need. Product need or project need could be from the internal business or from the external business as well. Internal as in within your own company, within your own organization, there's a separate business who is dealing directly with the customers. They may be raising some request. And within the same company, you have a different IT team who is actually developing all those things. So we'll be interacting internally with the business, or probably some other company may be also giving you the requirements. So that depends what environment are you working. Are you working in like product development kind of company, or are you working in the service-based companies? So that depends. The product-based companies, probably you will be mostly be dealing with the internal clients, and service-based you will be mostly dealing with the external clients. Once you have captured the requirement, you do analysis. Now, BA also plays a very important role during this analysis phase. So what happens once you have captured the requirement from different sources? You will have to reconcile everything. You have to find the conflicts. You have to decompose the high level the requirement into smaller chunks. When I'm asking, I need a big house. This is a like very vague term, a very big requirement. I have to decompose this in smaller things. What do you mean by big house? Okay, so the decomposing would be, I need 4 bedrooms. I need like 2 bathrooms or 3 bathrooms, 3.5 bathrooms. I would need like 500 square feet kind of a backyard, all those things, So you have to decompose that into smaller chunks so that the requirements becomes more clear. And because you understand the requirement, you will have to do this one. But are you doing it alone? No, you're not doing it alone. You may not have that expertise of further like breaking it down into smaller chunks. Who will you work with? Obviously, you will work mostly with your development team, your technical team who is actually going to work. So they will give you the idea. You will explain them the requirements, and they will help you with the feedback, the inputs, and then probably you all collectively will be making it in a smaller chunks, doing further analysis, finding what is possible, what is not possible, and what is something can be done differently. All those things you will be doing during the analysis phase, right? And then next comes the design phase and the software development lifecycle. So obviously, if you're building a house, you need some architecture. You cannot build a house without the architecture. If you're doing some IT projects, you need something. Otherwise, you will not be able to do these things. So in the design phase, you are not doing this thing directly, but you will be working very closely with the designers, the UI, UX teams. We call it user interface teams. User interface or user experience team. UI, user interface, UX, user experience, UI could be the persons who will be actually drawing those things. User experience could be someone from the business side who will let you know what is the design interface they need, what kind of the screens they would like to see, what kind of bedroom they would like to see. So based on your requirement that you have captured, you will help the designers understand those requirements, and designers will develop those prototypes, the wireframes, the designs for you, and then you will go ahead and review with business and you will get it approved and upload to the document. Now, in this phase, obviously your emphasis changes from business to the computer solutions. In gathering and analysis, you're actually trying to understand what business needs. Now, during the design phase, obviously you're working more to finding out what is how do we actually take things from it? How do we do these things? So your emphasis changes from what to how. Remaining two phases are development. No, we have more pages. So the next phase is development and coding. Now, once we have the design completed, approved, now the developer will actually go ahead and start writing codes and building. Now the architecture is finalized, the land is finalized. We have done all those, the analysis on the cost, the place, everything. Now the workers will actually go and start building your house. So in IT field, we call it development or coding. During this phase, BA has a very limited role. BA is not writing codes. BA is not building those houses. BA will be supervising and monitoring things. So you will have a very limited role in this phase of the software development lifecycle. Here, the developers will actually be working, and you will only be answering the questions. If they have any questions, you will answer the question. As I said, if you do not have the answer, you will go and discuss with business, come back and tell them. So you will just clarify their doubts and nothing else. So you will still be playing a good role, like sitting in the middle and monitoring and seeing if things are going as per the plan or not. So probably you will see what we have done, like 3 weeks of development. Say an example. So as per the plan, did we really complete it? Did we really complete all those things that we planned actually? We initially had planned we will be completing 5 items in next 3 months. So did we complete all those 5 items? All those tracking kind of things you will be doing. Then testing. During the testing, what happens? Testing has like 3 different phases. The one is the unit testing, where the developer will be testing and developing, and they will be testing. So you don't have to do anything with that phase. Once the unit testing is done and the things has moved to the QA folks, the QA team will be testing. Then again, you will be playing a very key role, and you will not be testing. You may not be testing it directly, but you will be helping the QAs also understand things. They may have questions as well. They may ask you the questions. So you will help them understand what is the need. And obviously, you will see if the requirement is as per the business needs or not. When I'm saying acceptance criteria, what are the acceptance criteria? Business will accept these requirements. So you will be working very closely with the QA folks, and you will ensure everything is as per the plan. Some certain acceptance criteria that BA has to make sure it is matching. Say an example, I'm giving you one real world example. I need a phone. I said, okay, you have to buy me a phone, but all the phones do the same thing, moreover. But there may be some certain acceptance criteria that I will be accepting or rejecting. So my acceptance criteria is my phone should not have less than 4 gig of memory. A phone may come with 1 gig memory as well. So I will not accept those things. That is my acceptance criteria from the business end. Or I need only Apple brand phones. You may come up with like 100 gig phone with Samsung brand. I may not be able to accept that, right? So I just give you real-time examples. So acceptance criteria is set by business and agreed by the team. Business may ask you, I would like to go to the moon, right? But we cannot send them the moon with the requirements. So we will not accept that acceptance criteria. Acceptance criteria is given by business, written by BA, and reviewed and approved and agreed by whole team. So BA here in the QA testing phases makes sure whatever the development has been done is as per the acceptance criteria, so that when he or she calls the business for the UAT, business should not raise questions why this is not meeting with the acceptance criteria and as per the requirements. As I was saying, a BA can also do manual and automation testing if you have expertise. If you do not, just relax. You don't have to take the accountability. You are ultimately accountable for the successful delivery of the project and not the testing. But yes, you have to keep an eye, monitor things, and make sure everything is on track and as per the requirement. Agreed. Right. So you As a BA, also have one responsibility to take a sign off. As I said, we are working in the traditional waterfall model, and waterfall is nothing but a step-by-step things. And in waterfall, everything has to be officially approved, baselined. So during the UAT, you will be playing a very crucial role. You will be like working very closely with the business. In this phase, you will invite business probably in your premises, or probably you will deploy something into their premises and they will do the testing with the actual users. And you will be, most of the cases, you will be like working with them closely. In most of the cases, what happens, they do testing on their own. They document all the findings, they list all the findings, and they call you as a BA and they show you. They also wanted to make sure they are doing the right thing. So you will help them understand, okay, you are doing the right thing and you're not doing it correctly, you do it differently. And then once every testing is done with the business within the user acceptance testing, this is your responsibility to take a sign off. Unless business approves those changes or those development work, you may not be able to take it forward and deliver things, right? So you will show me the phone. Okay, sir, look at this. This works. This can send messages. This can receive calls. This can make calls. You can go internet. This is everything as per your requirement. The one thing is not matching is, the brand is Samsung. I would needed some other brand. So I would not accept this one. Even though you have completed everything, but the one requirement is not meeting, I will not accept this thing. What will happen? This will create a big problem for you, because you will have to now discard everything and go and do the same thing for the other brand. So this will cost you like more than the actual cost of the work. So this is very important for a BA to collect the requirement very clearly, very concise, and approved. If business has approved for brand A, you must show them the reference. Sir, I understand you need the other brand B, but here is the documentation. When initially we were capturing the requirement, you have reviewed it and you have approved it. Look at this one. What does it say? What brand does it say? Now, how come you can ask the other brand? If you will ask, that's fine. We can do it for you, but that will have a new requirement, and you will have to go through the requirement processes. That might cost them some money or time or blah, blah, whatever. So the sign up is very important for you in traditional waterfall, because there's no scope of changes unless you're going through some change management processes. So it's like a very hectic things. So make sure you're reviewing everything in every phases and getting it approved. Now, during the UAT as well, you have to make sure they're providing you the sign off, they're approving the development before you can go ahead and install or deploy to the environment or actually deliver it to the customer. Once the delivery is done, if business is coming back to you and asking some changes, you probably again can show them, sir, you have given us the sign off. You did all the testings and you knew what we are delivering you. Then how come you can ask this thing? That's fine. If the requirement has changes, it's completely fine. We understand things changes. We will take it differently. We'll go through a change management process, change request process. And probably this might cost you some additional time, some additional money, blah, 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 all those things. And we'll take it forward. If you do not have the sign off, you do not have things written clearly, business will probably play with you and you have to do everything free of cost and with a very close deadlines, and you will be in trouble. So don't do this thing. Next phases of the software development lifecycle, you have to do deployment and install. Obviously, when you're delivering something, deploying to the business environment, probably as a BA, you will not have that much to do. In most of the cases, what happens in traditional waterfall, as a BA, you have to request a new change to the production. There's one environment in the production that end customers are using, and you would not want to deploy something that is breaking any of the existing features or functionality and that is impacting the end customers and costing a business a lot of money. So to avoid those situations, in most of the companies, what they do, if in case they are into traditional waterfall, they have some change management processes and team. So you cannot simply go ahead and deploy things in the production. What will happen? You will have to raise a request in their business environment. And there's a team of group of the people, they will review the changes. They will invite you to the meeting and you will have to explain them what we have done and what is the impact, what different system this is going to impact. And all those system owners have reviewed this requirement with you and they have approved already. So after looking all that data and facts, the team will either decide to approve or reject those changes, and they will let you know what next. So once it is approved, your role is done officially, and then what will happen? Somebody else will be going ahead and deploying it to the production. In some of the cases, most of the companies, they have their like separate team who does the operations. So somebody from the operation team will go ahead and deploy. Or in some of the cases, even the development team, like your development team, the technical team who is actually writing codes, they have access and they can go ahead and deploy things directly. So this is how it works. You will not be deploying at all. Just trust me. You do not have to deploy, and this is not your responsibility. The ultimate responsibility lies with someone who is technical or who is actually, part of the development team or the operations team. You are not. What is your role then in the deployment? Again, the monitoring. You have to make sure things are being delivered to the business as per the time. Probably I'm delivering everything correctly, but not on time. That will also not serve the purpose. So the timing is very important. And as a BA, as a PM, this is your responsibility to make certain things are being delivered on time as per the plan. That is only your role in the development install phase. Now, the last phase is the support. So every org has a different support windows. Let's say your company has agreement that you will provide them post-production support maybe a month, maybe 3 months, maybe a year, whatever is that. So as a BA, during that window, business might ask you a lot of questions. Probably business will ask you some training needs. They may ask you some documentations of the new change so that they can review and they can have that available for the end users, so then they can review the documentation and they can see what changes were made and how do we supposed to use those changes. So if this training documentation is part of your requirement scope, then you have to do these things. Probably you will do or probably if you go to the metrics environments like bigger companies, they have a separate team who actually works on these documentations, and they review it and they approve it, and then only you can share with the business. You will not be able to do this. You should not be doing this. But in smaller companies, probably it's like one-man army. You have to do whole lot of things. So probably this might be one of your responsibilities to write the business training documentation for them. So that depends where you're working and what environment you are in. And then obviously there could be some bug handlings. Business might be using something, and because of the deployment, something broke. So business will come back to you saying, what, you deployed this new piece, new changes today, and before today, this was working fine, but after deployment, this is not working. So you have to take the responsibility. Something has gone wrong somewhere. So that might be a bug, that might be something else. So the business will come to you. Now, if that is also part of your support window, maybe your company says for the first 1 month, we will be providing like end-to-end support. So this will be your responsibility to do some like first level research. What is this problem all about? And then based on your findings, you will pass it on to the development team. So from the development team, somebody will take a look and help you understand what is this problem all about. Do we really need some changes like code fixes? Do we really need some training kind of thing? Or probably business doesn't know how to use it. And based on the findings, you will plan things further and you will go back to business and you will tell them, hey, what? It needs some changes. And this is the plan. How are we going to write codes and deploy? You will, again, go through all those deployment process and all. If the training needs, you will help customer know, what, go to the training material, fine, go to this page and see, we have written already how to use these things. Or, hey, what, you're asking something new that we never delivered, so it's like new change. Come back and give us a new change request and we'll take it forward. So you might providing that support. So this is your role in your support window. So going back, first phase is the requirement gathering. Second is analysis. Third is design. Fourth is development and coding. And then testing. And then you have to deploy and support. So these are the phases of the software development lifecycle. If an interviewer is asking you what are the different phases of SDLC and what is your roles and responsibility, you will have to answer this way, taking an example of your projects. Or maybe you can simply give a generic answer that I gave you right now, what you're supposed to do, where your role is important, where you're like supporting from the outside, that machine or system, Probably you will be providing just external support, or you will be like actually doing things. So that depends which stage of the software development lifecycle you are in. So this is very important, and you will definitely hear this question from the business. Before I go ahead, any questions, guys, on this topic?
No.
Yes, Wasim, please go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question. Actually, after getting sign off from business on BRD, which we share with the business for sign off, development team start working on the requirement, and they provide us the solution document to get sign off from the business as well. So my question is how it is different from SRS. Are they both are the same documents or they are different?
Your company may be working with the solution document, and some of the companies they work in the SRS. So could be, as I said initially, could be the same thing in a different version, different names. So some of the companies they basically use SRS, and some of the companies they have like smaller part of the SRS. They are just focusing on the functional requirement and the solution. So probably in your company, they are just focusing on the solution. What is the solution? They may have a different document for the requirement, and then they may have another document that is talking more about the solution things. So based on your requirement, what solution are we going to provide? And then probably, I'm not sure why business would provide approve with this. Business does not have to do anything on how are you providing the solution. They are just more focusing on the end results. But just in case if your company has policy that business will approve the solution document, so probably that solution document will not be the entire SRS. That could be like smaller part of the SRS where you have only focusing on what solution you are going against each of the requirements. Like requirement A, I'm giving you this solution. Requirement B, I'm giving you this solution, and so on. And what will be the impact and how this is going to cover all those requirements. And probably somebody will approve, and then you will take it forward. So this is like a flavor of SRS, not the whole SRS.
Okay.
Any
Okay,
other
thanks.
questions?
No, thank you.
Anyone else? All right, moving next. Roles and responsibilities continues. A business analyst works with you. You as a BA, you will see yourself working with a steering committee. Now, what is steering committee? Any one of you have any idea what is steering committee? Okay, let me tell you. Steering committee is like the key folks. Every company, when we have a new project in the company, that depends. What is the severity and the priority of that project? Business, what does they create a group of people, like the steering committee may have directors, senior directors, maybe the AVPs, VPs, or program managers, or blah blah blah, all those things. They will actually monitor the whole project success, and they are responsible for like successful completion of the project. They will be sitting at the top. The steering committee will be a group of key folks. They will ask you the question, they will monitor things, they will fund you. They may have authority to stop the project, end the project, change the project. They probably have authority to change the resources, whatever. So the key folks. So as a BA, you also have to deal with them as well. Probably they may have a weekly meetings and calls where you will go ahead and talk to them and answer their questions. And in some of the cases, probably a project manager, along with a BA, will be providing the weekly updates to the steering committee. So you will be dealing with them as well. So in some of the interview questions, I've heard people asking, what group of people do you interact and how do you interact with them? They ask you these questions. So the answer should be, I'm also interacting with the steering committee. They further may ask you who are part of your steering committee. So give them any answer, like, probably if you're really working with the steering committee, you know who they are. If you're not, just try to give them like key stakeholders name. I have directors, I have the sponsors, I have someone who is funding, blah, 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 all those things. And then you have to also work with the management, system owners, or product owners. Now, who are the product owners and system owners? Could be the actual user, or could be someone who is like owning the entire product delivery and product enhancements. So you as a BA will be working with them closely. This product owner might be your manager, or might be your business, or might be your colleague, or someone who might be giving you the requirements. The only thing is that person is like owning the responsibility of successful product development, right? System owner, that means the application that you will be delivering, somebody will be using. In some of the cases, your support team will be the system owners because they are the one who will be working closely with the end customers. So they might be your system owners. Could be your internal team, could be your finance team, could be your sales team, blah, blah. They are using that application. They could be the system owners. You will be working with them as well. And management is like the whole management who is like managing everything. Now, when I'm saying working, what do you mean? What do you mean by working? During all the phases. Now, as a BA, think your role during the SDLC phases and you will get the answers. So probably the system owner might be interacting with you in the support phase of the SDLC. You know, they are using it and they're asking you the questions. You have to interact with them. Product owners might be working with you during the requirement gathering phases or maybe throughout the phases, all the phases. So you have to work with them in different phases within the project or their software development lifecycle. Users, end users, like somebody like who end user, you know, you have built some application that end user is using, you know, like you as an end user, let's say you're going to Amazon and you have some interface and you're like selecting products, adding, buying, paying. So that interface was built by some of the BA and some of the development team, but you are the end user who will be actually using. So in some of the cases, you may have some of the questions or some problems that you have raised, and that is going to the company, and probably the company may not be directly calling you and asking what happened, but probably somebody from that team will reach out to you and ask more detail and feedback. What do you mean by that? And I can do that. That's someone, probably a BA. I have no idea who is that. That's like end user like us. Now within the company, we may have end users like call center agents. They're also the employees. They're using one of the applications that you have built, and they're dealing with the end users. So that call center agent is also end user for you. You may also have to interact with them. But that all depends what kind of project you're doing and what phase of the product or the project development you are. DBAs, the database administrators, you know, every front end has some backend. If you're going to the Amazon site, you're finding some details. You know, you click one of the product and you found the different details, the price, the discount, everything. So not necessarily everything will be written on the front page. Some of the data is coming from the backend system, you know. So there's so many different databases that we use, you know, to names the old ones like Oracle, DB2, all those things. You know, we have so many databases in the market that you will be like overwhelmed with the names, and every company is using different databases. Some of the companies are using like 5-6 databases. We'll discuss that in detail if needed. So you will also be working with them. They may have also questions for you. You know, you have captured some of the requirement that is also impacting the DBAs. So they will also ask you what is the need and how should they deliver things to you. And obviously the development team. When I'm saying development team, the technical engineers, the quality analyst, everybody who is being part of that team, including the BA, they all are the development team. So development team is not only the developers. There could be QA as well. There could be DBA as well. So again, it depends how your company has structured the team. You might see everybody is working within one team. There's one project team. Within the project team, there's one project manager, one business analyst, one DBA, one QA, and developers, the backend developers, front-end developers. You might see a situation where you only have the development team and the DBA is a separate team. You have to deal with them separately. You have a QA team separately. You have to deal with them. So that all depends what kind of org you are working with, you know. So we have like metrics environment, function environments, balance metrics, projectized, all those things we will discuss in some other time in some other meetings. Skills and attributes. What is the skills and attributes a BA must have in order to succeed as a BA? You need to be a problem solving. You know, you have to have that skills. The way you can see yourself, you know, finding in a situation where you can solve the problem. So you have to develop all these skills. You know, these skills can easily be developed. That's a good part. You just need some consistent practice, and you can develop this thing. So you need to be a problem solving. You know, you have to solve a lot of problems. When I'm saying problem solving, it's not technical. It could be like general as well. Development team is coming to you with some questions. There is a problem for them, and they're reaching out to you. So you will be one who will be solving the problems for them. Business may have something for you. You know, there could be some dependencies, some constraints, and you have to be in a situation where you can fix all those things. And you have to be flexible and adaptable. What does it mean? Flexible as in, at certain times you will see your development team wants to do something differently, and you have a different idea of doing things done. You know what I'm telling you? One thing, there are hundreds of different ways of doing one thing. You may not always be correct, and your team may not always be wrong. So if you know what needs to be done and you have a clear path, then how should we do? You can tell your team, do this way. But a team may have a different view of seeing things, and they want to do things differently. So you should be flexible enough to accept those things and be adaptable with them, accept the changes and let them do the work. You just have to make sure the end result is being met. And what else? When I'm saying flexibility and adaptability, you should be open to accept the mistakes. No shouting, no yelling on the mistakes. It's a human nature. We do mistakes. Rather, you have to retrospect and see what did not go well and how can we do things differently. This will give your team a great confidence in you, and they will work with you like a peer, like a colleague, and they will trust you, and you will also trust them. You will building trust with them. So give them some flexibility the way they want it to work. Now, this has a lot of broader window. When you're capturing the requirement, you have to be flexible in certain things. You should be able to adapt and implement new things. And obviously everything has to be done within that defined change management process when you're working in traditional waterfall. If you're working in agile, there are different way of working that we are not discussing it right now. Where over time, I will not take you more time. I'm going to close this session maybe after this slide, and then we will discuss tomorrow. We'll continue tomorrow the training. So next thing is communication and interpersonal skills. These are the soft skills, and soft skills are the hardest skills in the world. I'm just telling you. They're called soft skills, but technically they are the hardest skills in the world. If I have to do certain things on me, I can do this. But if I have to get things done from someone else, it's going to be tough for you. You cannot tell people, do this, do that, and you cannot expect they will be doing it for you. So here comes your communication skills and the interpersonal skills. How do you get things done from the others, from your development team, from your business? Business might be asking you so many different things, How do you communicate with them? How do you use all those negotiating and skills that you can work with them? So everything, something you have to develop in you. It takes a little time, but you will do this one. This comes with your experience, your confidence. You gain more confidence when you get more experience, and you get more experience when you do more mistakes. That's why I said, be open to the mistakes. Rather, try to find out why we did not do things correctly and how can we do things differently instead of yelling and shouting on the people on the mistakes. Don't do this one. So communication is the key. You will be asked in the question, what is the most important key skills a BA or a PM must have? You will definitely hear these questions. So just hear the question correctly. They're asking, what is one of the most key skills a BA must have or PM must have? If you hear this question this way, your answer should only be communication. Communication is the key. It's not about how you speak, it's about how you deal with the people. How good you are at your soft skills. When I'm saying soft skills, it includes interpersonal skills, negotiating skills, and all those skills, How do you analyze things, all those things. So communication is the key. You have to answer this way if someone is asking, what is the most important key skills? Most important or one of the most important, just answer one word: communication. Or if someone is asking, okay, what are some of the skills that a BA must have? So you may again focus on the communication, but in a different way. You can tell them, there's so many skills the BA must have, like problem solving skills, flexibility, adaptability. You should be able to negotiate things with business. You should be able to take some decisions at a certain time, You should be analytical and critical thinking. But as from my experience, you can tell them communication is the key because it breaks the barriers. When you communicate with the people, it breaks the barriers and it will give you the path forward to go ahead. So this is very important for you. You can solve bigger challenges, problems when you communicate well with the people. So it's very important. So these are I've already told you analytical skills and critical thinking. How you think differently. Everybody is probably thinking about the problems, but you're also thinking about the solution. You're not coming with the problem only. You're coming with the solutions as well. So that's critical thinking, or how you things differently? How do you take things differently? How do you like do like our next level of thinking? Like say an example, everybody was building phones, but in I think 2009, Apple has made for first iPhone 6, a big screen, a touch screen where you can touch things, you can do all those things. That was like a huge invention in the mobile world. So they thought differently. They had like critical thinking. They were like thinking them differently, one step further. Now every year they have new add-ons, and they're always adding something which is not available in the market. So that there are two ways of doing things. One, you see a problem and you find a solution. That's nice. Sometimes you don't see a problem, you see a need and you then come up with the solutions. That's what Apple is doing in this market. So as a BA, you also have to have those skill sets with you, develop these things in you. That's very important. And obviously you should have like working knowledge of some information system and the technologies of working knowledge. This is not important. I'm not saying this is like huge. Yes. But yeah, if you have something, this will be really a good for you. If you have these things, if you do not have, don't worry. You can learn things. You can learn things. Okay. Now you need to have some ethics in you as well. This is very important. Ethics is very important. Something is not true, something is not correct, and you're still doing is wrong. You should not do things. I'm just giving you very simple examples. I have no idea. I cannot give you the exact examples right now. But ethics, you understand what is ethics. I know this is not true. This is not right. Still, I'm doing. Don't do this one. You should not be manipulating with the requirement. You should not be giving wrong and incorrect information to business or your team, right? So all those ethics you must have. This is very, very good thing. As a BA, when you're working with business, you need to have all those things with you. Cool. So tomorrow we will start with okay, there's one question. Let me go ahead and then I'll close this session. Who is responsible for requirement gathering and business sign-off? You can answer in the chat. You can tell here as well, or you can,
A.
Okay. Any other answer? Okay, let me ask Wasim, what do you think? What should be the answer? Are you agreeing with A?
Yes, it's A.
Everybody?
Yes.
Cool. Amar, what do you think? Do you agree with A?
Because he's the first person who meet with, he's a bridge between the business and the other one.
Cool. The answer is all of above. Isn't it tricky? Now you must be thinking, yeah, am I crazy? I just keep talking about the B. How come all of above? I told you in the last sessions as well, you have to pay good attention on the questions. Do not get tricked. Do not get tricked. See, it's not only BA responsibility to collect the requirements. It's everyone. Your project manager can also collect the requirement for business. Even the development team, they can also, at certain times, they can reach out to business and they can collect the requirements. The trick part here is BA is the ultimate responsible, or BA is accountable for all those things. If you see those words, ultimate, accountable, then BA. But in general, it is a teamwork. It is a collectively teamwork, and BA is also part of the team. Product manager, development team, they all are the part of the team. So everybody is like equally doing the same thing. They're all equally responsible, but accountable. There's a difference between the responsible and accountable. The ultimate responsibility lies with BA. The accountability lies with BA, but everybody can go and collect the requirements. So I purposefully tricked you guys. I wanted to clear these doubts in you. So if someone is asking, is only BA who collects the requirement? No, everybody can. Even the PM can collect the requirement. Even the development team, somebody from the development team, a technical lead can collect the requirement along with BA. Probably BA, PM, and technically they all are reaching business all together in one meeting and collecting the requirements. It could be possible. A BA can also invite someone from the QA. BA can also invite someone from the UI UX team, because BA doesn't want to miss the information. So he or she wants everybody just be a part of the meeting and understand what business is asking. Fine. But are they accountable? No, they're not accountable. Development team has different accountability. Project manager has different accountability. BA has different accountability. So you are ultimate accountable, or you're ultimate responsible. You're not the only responsible. Here's the difference. Hope I did not confuse you guys. What is a requirement? We have been hearing since day one. BA is capturing the requirement, blah, 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 all those things. So what is a requirement actually? So see, requirement is nothing but a business need. Any need from the business which is required to solve a problem or achieve certain objectives. If you have to define, a good definition will be a condition or capability that must be met by a product or product component to satisfy a contract, standard, specification, or other formally imposed documentations. So any contract you have signed with business to achieve something, to fix a problem, to improve something, that brings you the requirement. Requirement could be building something completely new that was never existed, or improve something which is already in picture, people are using it, or anything. Requirement could be a physical requirement. Maybe you have to physically do something, or just a process improvements. So this could be anything. That depends what kind of business you have and what is the contract you have signed with business. Now, what drives requirement? Why do we get the requirement? What is something that actually triggers the requirement in any of the businesses? So there's no direct answer to this question. There could be many reasons for the requirements. As I said, business may have some specific mission that business would like to achieve. In our example, the Apple is like always working on some new missions. They have to come up with something new that none of the companies have ever produced or developed or released. So that is their mission. So that is requirement for them. So their one separate team is completely working towards those missions. So that is the requirement for them. You have an application already in use and you find some problems in that, any issues, or you would like to make some changes, any enhancements. You would like to, well, when I'm saying enhancements, this could be adding and removing both. We enhance the product by adding features and removing features sometimes. So those could be one of the drivers for the requirement. Business has changed everything, the whole picture, the complete requirement. So any change request could be one of the source of the requirements. Or you find an opportunity to improve something, that is also a requirement for you. Or sometimes everything is fine, but the technology has changed. We nowadays, every day we see something new is coming up. So the technology has changed. That will also, give you the requirement. The example, the real world example, we all use smartphones, and you might have seen like after a certain interval of the time, you see some updates are coming on your applications, your apps, and you have to download and install the new apps. Why are we doing all those things? Just because the technology has changed. Your OS, the operating system, has changed. To support that OS, your app has to be, the modified and improved and developed in a way that the new OS, your application can work on the new OS. So that also brings you the requirement. So any app companies, if they have BAs, they will be definitely working, keeping an eye on the OS changes, and according to the OS, new features added, they have to modify their app so that the users can use it. So I'm just giving you generic examples, what drives the requirement. So these are the basic things, but there could be many other reasons hidden, clearly open, visible, that will drive the new requirements. And once there's a requirement, there's a role of a BA. It is the BA's ultimate responsibility to go ahead and understand what is needed, why needed, where needed, how come we do these things, and then get it developed and deployed to the business. Yeah. Now, have you ever thought, what is the reason of the project failures? You might have seen the project was stopped, project failed, we could not complete this. What is the reason behind that? There's a lot of research, but this is something I really like it. This may not be the actual numbers, but it looks like moreover correct. The numbers might slightly change. So there are certain reasons of the project failure. Number one reason is, in this chart, you see the unrealistic expectations. Customer is giving you something which is really unrealistic. We cannot achieve those things, right? We cannot achieve unrealistic. Like as I gave you the example last time, if someone asks you you have to deliver my product to the moon or to the Mars, can you really go there? You cannot. That is unrealistic expectations. So the project will fail. So the researcher says 6% of the total project fails because of the unrealistic expectations. Lack of resources, 6% again. So what do you mean by lack of resources? When I'm saying lack of resources, this could be human resource, like the developers, or any other physical hardware, software resources that you may need in order for you to achieve and complete that project on time. So if you do not get all those things, it is likely 6% chances that your project will fail if you do not have the required resources. Technology incompetence, as I said, probably my company has maybe the old Visual Basic kind of development model, the technology, but the market is evolving. Now we need the programs to be written in Java so that can work in any of the platforms. But my company doesn't have Java competencies. So what will happen? Probably if we try to do those things, we will fail. This may not be the correct example that I'm giving you, the perfect example, but try to understand this way. You need to be updating your skills, and the company needs to be updating their technology competencies as per the market needs and standards. So the 7% of the project failure happens is because of technology incompetences. Now, there could be other examples as well in the technology incompetences. Let's say I am in Java, but my developers, they do not have that much expertise in Java. They are like learners, or probably they have recently moved, or they're learning and doing those things. That could be also one of the reasons when I'm adding technology incompetences. So there could be so many things under this section. Lack of executive support, 8%. You have a project, but you're not getting the support from the top level management. When I'm saying executives, it's like top level folks. You're somebody who is funding your project, somebody who has like high interest and high power in the project, who can take certain decisions. You're not getting those supports. So there's certain reasons, miscellaneous reasons your project will fail if you do not have the proper support. 12% is changing or incomplete requirement in the specifications. What does it mean? You have one requirement already captured. Now, during the execution, business is changing those requirements continuously. That will also lead the project failure, because you will overrun budget, you will overrun time. You have certain budget money given for to get something done, and you have spent some amount already. You have spent some time already. Now, business is coming to you and asking for a change. See, probably you may have to end up doing everything once again, redo everything. So this will again take money and time all. So this situation also contributes 12% project failures. 13% says lack of user input. You do not get the exact information from user. I'm the user and I have to use some product or application, and you're the BA, you're coming to me understanding what do I need, and I'm not giving you the information that you may need in order for the successful project delivery and completion. I may have different reasons that I'm not giving you the input, or probably as a BA, you're not asking me the right questions, So overall, lack of user input will lead 13% project failures. And 48% says unknown, others, we don't know. There could be many other internal, external reasons. You're building a house and some natural disaster happens. What will you do? You cannot do anything. So obviously the project will fail. There could be many other reasons, internal, external, some compliance, some, the government mandates that has recent, like you have done 99% of the project, and then suddenly some government mandate comes in and you will end up like redoing everything, changing the whole project. Probably you have to scrap the project. That is again something you cannot control over. So there are some external dependencies as well. So 48% may include all those things. Now the question here is, as a BA, what should we do to make sure the project is not failing. Let me start over. The unrealistic expectations. Customer can give you unrealistic expectations. Customer can give you, like, unrealistic expectations in the timeline, in the budget, in the requirements. It is us, the BA. It is our responsibility to ask right questions, negotiate with them, and try to close all those unknowns and help them understand what is possible, what is not possible, what is feasible, what is not feasible. The question, should I do these questioning at the same time when I'm capturing the requirement? Not necessarily. When you capture the requirement, you have to focus on what is needed and not how. When you go back to your team, you do your analysis, you do elicitations, and then you come to know, oh, wow, customer is asking everything by tomorrow evening. Is that possible? No, this is not possible. So I'll go back to the business and tell them, excuse me, tomorrow is not possible. This is unrealistic. We cannot complete tomorrow. It takes a whole lot of time. And these are the n number of phases that we have to go. And this will take certain time. So you have to be very clear when you're talking to the customer on those all unrealistic expectations. Some of them you may know already because you have some previous working experiences with the customer or with the technology or with the team. Some of them you may not know at the same time. So you will go back, do your homework, research, and then go back and do. Ultimate responsibility will be on you to figure out all those things and close things. Take sign off, agree with everyone, and then move forward. Same thing you can do with the changing and incomplete requirement specification sections. It says 12%. So now it is your responsibility, not only yours. It's a collectively team responsibility. This also lies with the project manager or the executives, that they have to come up with certain rules, regulations, or certain, setting proper expectations to the business. How do we deal with these changes? And in order to handle this, changing requirements, in traditional waterfall, we have a change management process defined. So what does it say? It does not ask you not to accept anything once you are in middle of something. It says you should, but you have to follow certain rules, certain processes, and then only you can accept. And what is the change management process? What we should be doing, what we should not be doing, we will discuss some other time in other videos. We have that topic that we will capture. For now, as a BA, if you are getting something in middle of the work or the development, the first thing you will do you will document this as a new change request, and you will do your analysis with the team, and you will give the customer the details, what will be the impact, and what will be like a ballpark effort. Probably you will not be able to give them the efforts. You will discuss with the finance or the developers or the project managers, and then probably you can go and let them know. So what could be the timeline, what could be the budget customer may have to end up paying, and what could be the process you will be handling. And then once the customer approves, then you will go through the change management process internally, and then you will take it forward. Now, what are those? We'll discuss some other time. For now, can I control this frequent change situation? Answer is yes, you can, and you should be doing. This is one of your responsibilities, to control over these uncertain changes during the project. Otherwise, you will end up seeing this situation where you are like burning up your, the amount, the fund, and everything. You will spend more time, and customer will be dissatisfied, or probably in the worst cases, the project will fail because you don't have money and you don't have time. Obviously, this will fail. And lack of user input, 13%. These are external dependencies you cannot control, but you can try your best to collect as much information you can from the user. And how do you do that? Asking the right questions. Asking question is something different, and asking right question is something different. So be specific to your questions. Do your homework before you go and talk to the business, and collect the information that you may need. And this may not be happening in just in one meeting. You may end up like doing multiple meetings, email exchanges, text exchanges. That's fine, cool. As long as before you start the development, you have to have everything collected, reviewed, and approved. That's the reason traditional waterfall says you please have approvals in every phase before you move to the next phase. So that's all about the requirement failures. Now, the good question is, what is the reason behind those failures, or what is the reason, like why we have all these failures? What could be the reasons behind them? So here I'm trying to explain what could be the typical problems and issues. So obviously you have incomplete information, or the information, the important key factors are lacking, or this is ambiguous. You don't know what is happening. People are just giving you the helicopter view of the requirement. So probably you will fail. You do not have complete details, and the critical stakeholders' point of view is missing. Let's say I am the one who is ultimately going to use the application, and I am the one who is going to fund you. Or probably I may not be funding you, but I'm the one who will be the end user side that I'll be using. And as a BA, you did not find me. You did not find me as one of the key stakeholders, and you did not reach out to me, or you thought it is not important to talk to me because I'm sitting at the top, so you don't need me, or you had some hesitance that you will reach out to me, I will not give you time or support, blah blah, all those things. What happens? You are doing wrong practice. The right practice is you should not be assuming anything. As a BA, even in IT industry, it is well said, nothing happens on assumptions. Do not assume anything, even that is a very small thing. Talk, document, sign off, and then go forward, because you don't want to see the worst situation. So you should try to find who are the key stakeholders, and you must meet them and talk to them and try to understand their point of view. So I'm going to work on a software that will be used by someone else, but I have to collect the requirement from somewhere else. But I would like to go and talk to the person, meet the team, and see what is their expectations, what they think of doing all those things. This will help you clear a lot of things. So this is important for you. You do not have complete insights of the requirement. The context is missing. They have given you something copied and pasted from middle of some paragraph, and there's no context. What exactly does it mean? So that's a problem. You have to understand the whole context. Why I am saying, I may have little conflict with someone in you, and tomorrow I'm saying, what, I'm not going to take this class because I have other stuff, and so I'm done. So that is out of context sentence. You would like to know why I'm saying this thing. And how would you know? You will come back to me and ask, what is the problem? Why did you decide certainly to stop these training sessions? Is there any problem? Then probably you will be able to understand what is the full context of that sentence that I have given you. I'll just give you the simple generic example. So coming back to the actual point, long story short, you have to make sure you're asking the right questions, reaching out to the right people, and you have full details, and you know what is happening, and you have full insights. Like when you have been given something to do, you should be asking why it is needed. If you remember my first class, I told you, very first session, what is needed and why is needed is very important. When you ask why, you get the full insights of the requirement, and probably you will be in a situation to help customer understand the actual requirement. So asking right question is very important. So obviously, inadequate documentations. You are a BA, you're not doing proper documentation. You have good understanding of the requirements, but you did not document this thing. In traditional waterfall, everything happens on the document. Document has to be approved, and the development team will review your document, and then based on the documentation, they will proceed with further developments. So the document has to be really important. This is very important. Not validated. What does it mean? You have captured everything from business, but you did not validate with business or internal team, and you did not get approval. This will be a problem. If that is not signed off, tomorrow anyone can change the requirement, and you do not have any proof that this was agreed, approved. On what basis you will fight back? You cannot fight back because you have nothing. Make sure you are validating everything with the development and with the business. When I'm saying with development, how? You did not discuss the requirement with the development team, and you went ahead, captured everything, reviewed with business, and taken the sign off. It looks correct, because business is okay. As long as business is okay, we are fine. No, it is not fine. There could be many other things that you may not be aware of, or you may not have that expertise. So it is highly recommended, or it should be, actually, it is a part of the process that you have to go explain the requirement, discuss with your development team, take their input, their views, change accordingly, update the document, go back to business, review and approved it. You have to have in a win-win situation. Business is okay with the requirement, but the development team is not. They may give you like n number of reasons they will not be doing things. What will you do? You cannot work without the development team. So they have to be agreeing on as well. The same thing. Development team is okay, but business is not okay. What is the benefit is going to make you? Business is not going to accept the project. So make sure you should be in a win-win situation. You have to review everything with everyone, validate, approve, get approved, and then move forward. And lack of knowledge transfer to development team. Obviously, this is very important. We have already covered, but let me give you one more, like little more insights. You know what is needed. You have a very good understanding of the requirement, but you're not passing it to your development team the way it should be passed on. Do you really believe they will be in a situation to work correctly? No. Unless I do not know what exactly is the need in detail, I may not be able to give you the right answers. You're going to the doctor and you're not giving the detailed information to the doctor. What is your problem? Do you really believe the doctor can treat you well? No. Doctor will start assuming things. And based on the assumptions, he will try to give you some treatment, and that may or may not be working for you. So if you want the doctor to treat you well, you have to give him or her the full as much information you can provide. So that's a like simple real world example. Same happens with the IT development team. So they are providing you some solutions, so they should know what is the need. All right. Question. Before we go ahead, any questions from you guys on any of these slides? All right. Which of the below leads when a BA fails to define excellent requirements? What is your answer?
B.
Okay. Anyone else?
It's D.
You said B?
D.
D. Okay, cool. Everyone, please give your answer.
D. D will
Sorry,
be.
with the last experience, the last question experience, I'll go for D as well.
Cool. Okay, let's see what is the answer. Yes, D is the correct answer, and it looks like you guys have really understood the concept very clearly. I'm glad. Thank you. So if you, as a BA, fail to define the excellent requirement, this will certainly be a quality shortfalls. You will not be able to give a quality product to the customers, and customer will be dissatisfied for sure, 100%. And if the requirement is not clear, this will keep changing. You will have a lot of meetings, calls, questions to and fro, and you will like fail to meet the schedule, the timeline. And this will like ever expanding user requirements. The user will be changing the requirements because you did not ask the right questions, and even user did not know. And initially, what happens when user is coming to you with certain changes, even they sometimes do not know what they need. So you need to ask the right questions, probing questions, need to know the reasons, and then you can help them understand, right? And then probably you will be able to answer all, the thing. So this is the example. Once you fail, this will lead a lot of issues. So yes, answer is correct. Cool. Thank you. Now, what is the cost of the poor requirement? We just have seen if we fail to define the correct requirement, project fails, and there are a lot of things happen. So what is the cost of the poor requirement? It is well said, rework costs 40 to 50% of the total cost of the software. Additional, you have like $100,000 for one project, and if you fail, and if you're doing rework, you will end up spending like $140,000 and $150,000. Can you believe you have only $100,000 budget, and now you're spending like $150,000? Who is going to fund you the additional $50,000? Obviously, you may not have that budget in your company, in your project, in your quarter, in your team, and the project will definitely fail. You'll have to do a lot of things here and there, which will not give a good experience or positive experience to everyone. So it is very important for you to ask the right question. And, it might be scary. It might be sounding scary. It's only me who is taking care of the whole thing. The answer is yes and no, both. Yes, why? Because you are the one who will be actually capturing the requirement. So yes, no, as in no, this is a collectively team's responsibility, not only yours, you know. So you do your job and make sure the team is, they have a good understanding of what is the need. And then probably you should be good. Okay, so reworking a software requirement problems can cost 50 to 200% of the cost of, okay, cool. Obviously, if something is failed and I'm going to rework on those things, so this may range from like 50 times to 200 times of the actual cost. So if I have $100 budget, and if I'm doing some rework, I may end up spending 150 or maybe, $2,000 somewhere. So it is true. It is true. Any questions, any doubts on this one? Or any concerns that you would like to address here? Okay. So now we are moving to the next part of the requirement definition chapter. What are the different types of requirement? There could be hundreds of requirements, but here I'm just trying to teach you like the high-level types of the requirement, the categories of the requirement. So basically there are three only. Within these three categories, you will have almost all the requirements falling in. Number one category is the interface requirement. What do you mean by interface requirement? Whatever you see, you feel, the outlook, that is called the interface requirement. You have one cell phone in your hand, and like Apple has some different interface, Samsung has some different interface, and blah, 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 other different companies. You go to any of the websites, Amazon, apple.com, or wherever, you have some interface. You will find at the right top, you have cart, at the left top, you have your details, blah, blah, all those things. So these are interfaces. You will see the fonts are small, the fonts are in blue colored, the click button is at the top, as the middle centered, or maybe the top right, top left, all those things. So everything is interface. Whatever you can see and feel is an interface requirement. Interface. So, and we also call it graphical user interface. In the IT world, in the technical world, the development team will be talking to you saying GUI or GUI or graphical user interface or just user interface. So you will be understanding what they mean by when they're referring user interface or graphical user interface or GUI, all those things. So this is nothing but whatever you can see. Front end is all your interface requirements. So you will, when you have the new requirement coming in, you will identify if the requirement is from the interface requirement or from other part of the requirement. Now, functional requirement and non-functional requirements. Mark my word, you will be asked this question very frequently in your interviews. The interviewer will ask you, what is the difference between functional and non-functional requirement? Can you give me an example? You will 100% get this question in your interview. So pay attention to this here. What is functional requirement? Functional requirement is something that is, give me 1 second. Just 1 second, guys, please. Sorry about that. I see one pop-up, it doesn't go away. Okay, sorry. So functional is nothing but it gives you the main function of that software or that activity, the main functions, the main thing that software will perform and or that the particular activity will perform. The tasks that user need to achieve using the software. Say an example, when I am typing one of the numbers, when I'm pressing 5 on my cell phone, it should type 5. So this is a functional requirement. When I'm clicking on call button, it should connect me to the call. That is a functional requirement. Let me take you a very basic example. The pen, you write every day using the pen. What is the main function of the pen? It should write. So when I'm writing, it should write. So that is the main function of that pen. Pen is a project. And what is the main function of the pen? It should write. When I'm writing, it should write. So writing is your functional requirement. Now, what could be the non-functional requirement? In the same example, what color the pen should write? What should be the thickness of the writing? Those are all non-functional requirements. The pen should write in black, or the pen should write in red. The pen should write in blue. So this red, blue, black are the non-functional, which are the supporting the main function of the requirement. What should be the thickness is again a non-functional requirement. How secure is that? It's a non-functional. Can I reuse those things? Is a non-functional requirement. So anything which will give you the main function is the functional, and anything which is supporting the main function is a non-functional requirement. So if an interviewer is asking to give him or her an example, you can take simple pen example. Pen is a project, it should write. So writing is a main function, this is a functional requirement. Now what color? Red, blue, black is a non-functional requirement. In IT industry, if you're writing any of the codes, can I reuse those codes? Probably I may have different projects as well where I can reuse those codes. So the reusable functionality should be a non-functional. But the code should perform some activity that should be your functional requirement. You're going to the Amazon site and you are selecting one of the items and that is adding to your cart. That is your functional requirement. It should add when you click on the buy button or add to the cart, whatever. That is the main function. Now, what time should it take to add? Maybe a fraction of seconds, milliseconds, nanoseconds. That timing is your non-functional requirement. So hope you get the point. Anything which is the main function isn't functional. Anything which is supporting the main function is a non-functional requirement. So in the software requirement documentation, you have different sections where you will write interface requirements, where you will document all those graphical user interface requirements. You will have one section that will talk more about the functional requirement. And then you will have another section that will talk about non-functional requirements. You will document everything in detail. The question, do we really need to write non-functional requirements? So the answer is yes, it is highly recommended. Sometimes business does not ask you the non-functional requirement. Business will only tell you, I need a pen that should write. Cool. So I have built a pen and I decided, okay, let me write in blue. So when I'm going to deliver this to business starts writing, says, hey, it's blue. I don't need blue. I need red. I need to highlight something. I need black. I need orange, because I have different use of that. Then probably you will end up in argument. That's why it is very important to ask why. When customer is giving you the requirement, I need a pen that should write, ask why do you need a pen? Probably business will give you the answer then and there. Okay, I would like to highlight these things in different color. Then this will give you an opportunity to ask what color do you want? Customer can tell you, okay, make it red or blue. And you document those things so that during the UAT, business is not like giving you surprises. So this is very important. Hope I'm clear to you guys. Even if you fail to ask that why probing questions, you should try to think, will there be any supporting requirements when customer says writing? Will there be any supporting requirements? Let me ask, what color does he want the pen to write? So you ask those probing questions. This is very important for you. If you do not ask these questions, probably you will not be able to collect the correct requirements. Get it?
Yes.
Cool. Any questions?
So I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a software field? Are there a list of questions which need to be addressed or requirement to functional?
No.
Specific questions are like from so we know exactly what to ask or in an interview or beside the interview if you're in a meeting, that we know what project we're working on. So we need to have enough information so we know what they're talking about or what the project is about. So we should have a little background of it. Is that right? To know to ask the right question.
Correct. What happens when you get a new project, most of the time business will give you some requirement documentation, maybe an email, maybe a formal business requirement document from the business end, or probably you will be given the details during the meetings and some sort of information you will get from the business. on the requirements, and then you have to do your homework. You have to go and do your research and find out what customer needs. How do we do these things? We have a separate sessions where we have discussed these things in detail. What should be our end-to-end process, a step-by-step process when we have started capturing the requirement. Now, when it comes to the functional requirement, there will not be any list for you that okay, I'm going to ask question number 1, question number 2. No, you have to come up with your questions, the right questions. And that requirement will always change depending upon the project. Project A may have a different set of functional, non-functional requirements. Project B may have entirely separate things. So you will not be probably writing the same thing again and again. The format is same. You will have one format. When I'm saying SRS is like a format suggested by IEEE, one of the engineering organizations in the world. Or companies may modify those formats and create one that is working for them, as per their requirements. So you will have those sections in the document, and okay, in this document I have to fill functional requirement, non-functional requirement. Now, what I'm going to write in the functional requirement section is completely depends on what project I'm in. So I don't know if I have understood your question correctly, but if you are looking forward to have the list of the questions, you will not have. You will be the one who will preparing those questions based on your research on the requirement. And then you will ask those questions, you will document, and you will review, and you will keep changing. Now, we will discuss in detail the SRS and how do we do versionings and how do we capture all those requirements. We will do that in detail later on in the further classes. Did I answer your question, Amar?
Yes, understood. Thank you.
Thank you. So what is forward traceability and what is backward traceability? Now, we know traceability is something we need to track something from one source to different source. So forward traceability means you are going from your traceability matrix to your software requirement document, SRS. You have one ID. From that ID, you will go to the SRS and find that ID there as well. And you will see the details of the requirement, and you can tell the person, okay, this is what we have mentioned as the requirement. And this is exactly this is going to do. All functional, non-functional things you can track and tell the people. Say an example, you're already in the SRS document, you're reviewing it with someone with only any XYZ reasons or XYZ times, situations, and you are being asked questions about one of the requirement. What was the source of the requirement? Why did you capture this one? In that case, probably you would want to go back to your trace matrix. So you already have that ID and section number in the SRS. You will go to your trace matrix. You will find that section, and then you will be able to know what was the source of the requirement and why did you capture that requirement. So you should be able to easily track things, relate things, and help explain yourself and explain to the other team members as well, whoever is needing all those details. So traceability metrics is something a BA will be creating and using for her or him own working sheet purposes. Very important thing to remember, trace matrix is not required by the project. You don't have to upload this trace matrix to the functional requirements section or anywhere in the SRS or BRD or any other documentations. This is purely yours and internal to you. You don't need to share it with business. Business has to do nothing with your traceability metrics. Business is not going to approve or reject your requirement documentation based on the trace metrics. So you can go ahead and share this metrics with your internal team members. Let's say the developers, your junior BAs, your colleague BAs, your project manager. Internally, you would want them to use and get benefited and track things and know what was the purpose, what was the reason, what was the source of the requirement. If you want them to know, you can definitely go ahead and share this metrics with them. However, it is not required. This is completely internal to the business analyst. Unless your company or your team has agreed upon that you will be sharing this metrics to everyone, that's a separate part of the story. You will have to do this one. Otherwise, it is completely internal to you. That's one thing. Now, the second thing, in the interviews, the interviewer may ask you, what is the life cycle of the traceability metrics? When does it officially end? Everything has one life cycle, like we have life cycle for the software development. We have project life cycle. We also have life cycle for trust metrics. So the moment your requirement documentation is signed off, officially baselined, you can call it off. And this is the life cycle of your traceability metrics. You start building the trust metrics when you have started capturing the requirement. And once the requirement document is signed off, baseline, that is the end of the trust metrics. However, you can always use these metrics anywhere during and after the project implementation. That is completely your like, documentation for any feature uses. But to answer in the interview, the trust metrics lifecycle ends when the project is officially signed off. Project documentation is officially signed off, actually. Cool. So any questions in this requirement management chapter here? Okay. Cool. So I see one question here in the chat. Do I have to upload this requirement document, this trust metrics to the functional requirement documentation? The answer is no. I already answered no, you don't need to. This is never part of the requirement documentation, either functional or non-functional or any of the requirements. You don't need to. This is internal to you and you can use it. However, as I said, you can share with your internal team members. Cool. So the next, wow, this is very interesting and very important. You have to be very, look at this and you tell me the difference. What is happening here? This is one of the perfect examples you can find on internet where it tells how the poor requirement is being managed. The perfect example. If you see the first image, first row, first image, this is how the customer explained the requirement to the business analyst. Second, this is what BA understood. Third, this is how the UI UX team or the designers have designed this thing. Now the next thing tells, see how the developers have written the code, how everything is different than the actual requirement. Just look at this one. Now the next image tells how your business folks, your sales guys have explained what are they going to deliver to the business. They're giving really a great picture, I will give you so far all those things and you will be enjoying, having fun time. But actually that is not the case. That is their job to give, explain these things this way, and this is how they sell things. Now, if you go to the next row, first image, this is how the project was documented. What does it mean? There's nothing in the documentation. The project was not properly documented. In traditional waterfall, it is very important for the document. You have to document everything. Next image, this is how operational installation has happened. This is what we have actually installed. Now, the next is very interesting. This is how you have billed the customers, the billing invoices. Now, when it comes to the support, see what support you have provided to the business. There's nothing out there. Now, the last one is super interesting. This is actually the customer wanted. So now what did you understand? Customer expectation was something else. However, customer explained it differently because at times, even customer doesn't know what they need. That's why it is very important for you to ask the probing questions. If you ask why you need this thing, probably they will answer the why, and you will understand, okay, probably customer doesn't need this thing, customer needs something else. And based on the answer, based on the analysis, you can suggest customers what they actually want. So in this perfect example, when customer was explaining what they need, if BA would have asked the probing questions and asked why do they need, probably based on the answer, BA would have suggested them they don't want this thing. They actually want the last image of this picture. And then if that stage was correct, remaining other stages will automatically be correct. Because if you understand correctly, you will pass it to the next team very clearly and very efficiently. And then next, and then next, and then next. So the project will not fail. So this was the perfect example. Hope you liked it. Tips. You need to understand everything in detail. You don't need to memorize things, trust me, because you will memorize and you will forget tomorrow. So you have to understand the definitions, the key terms. Then only you will be able to score good points in the interviews. Before you try to answer the question in the interview, you should recognize the topic of the question, what actually the interviewer is asking. Don't yourself freaked out in the wordy questions. You have to be very careful. So don't be in a hurry. Be an active listener. When your interviewer is asking the questions, you have to be patient, calm, and understand clearly what they need, and then accordingly form your answer. Interviewer way of listening answer is always 100% correct. Now, how would you know what way and what is the different way the interviewer wants to hear the answer? When you start communicating with them during the interviews, you can sense things. You will easily sense, okay, what is he asking or she's asking? What is he or she wants to hear from me? And then probably you can tweak your answer. You can give them the answer. The concept here is, if they want to hear something in certain way, you should try to answer in that way so that you get a better chance of clearing those interviews. There are different ways, hundreds of ways of doing the same thing. Probably you both are correct. The way you're answering is also correct. But you also have to make sure you're in the interviews and the interviewer wants to hear something in differently. Do that differently, and probably you will get your interviews cleared. Practice as many questions you can. Yes, this is very important. You have to practice a lot. If you cannot practice, you will feel lost in the questions. So when I'm saying practice, what does it mean? If you get one question and if you don't know the answer, go and find out the reason why you don't know the answers. Do you need to revisit the topics, the chapters? Go and read that out. Listen to the videos once again. Listen to the audios once again. Try to refresh your memories, idea, talk to someone, your mentors, and get the right answer. So this is very important for you, and you have to practice like as much questions you can. It's like just practicing 5, 6, 7 direct questions will not help you in the interviews unless you really have a real-time working experience in the projects. You know already a lot of things, but you're someone new, like you're a student. This might be your first job, and your mom, housewife, and you decided to start career in IT industry. For you guys that you have never worked before, you need really good practice on all those situation-based questions, technical questions, and the direct questions from the chapters you are learning. So please be practicing. And always, as I say, the common terms that you will learn here in this course, you will always be using throughout your life, personally, professionally, with your peers, in your company, everywhere. So this is very important. Now, the summary of this course. Project requirement. A good requirement help a project team holding the project together and keep on track. This is very true. If you do not have the good requirements captured, how can you assume that people will be, holding the project together? They will not, because they will always feel lost because the requirement is not clear. They will always feeling like confused, not clear, and they don't know what they're doing. So this will ultimately lead to project failure. So don't do this. You need to be making sure, just make certain you have good requirements captured and documented. A well-defined requirement ensures the project scope is well aligned. Obviously, a well-defined requirement, you have understood the requirement correctly, analyze that, define clearly. This will definitely should be aligned to the scope of the project. And then only you will be able to communicate and manage things well. Right? So this is very important. Scope change should always be handled through organizational change procedures that we just spoke. You should not be accepting or rejecting any of the change requests like on the fly. If someone is coming to you with a change request, take it as a change request, document it, review it, and follow your organizational procedures to take it forward. You should not be like rejecting and accepting in the first go. No, don't do this thing. If you have a good project requirement, the great project requirement, this will definitely help capture the full project scope, in a scope and out of a scope. So what does it mean? At certain times, you only focus on writing what is in a scope and what needs to be done. And at certain times, you forget to write what is not in a scope. The question is, should we really writing what is not in a scope? Are we really going to work on those things? The answer is yes and no, both. Yes, as in yes, you don't need to write all those things which are not required, not out in a scope. But Say an example, you were talking to a customer, capturing the requirement, and customer gave you something that you on the fly analyzed and realized this cannot be completed. This cannot be done. It's not possible actually. Then you explained that thing to the person with the reason and the technical justification why this cannot be done. And you both agreed, okay, let's just make it out of the scope. So you would purposefully would like to write down that in your documentation and write this is out of scope and this will not be done. Why? Probably in future during the testing phases, UAT phases, business may ask you the same thing once again. Business may not recall that discussion. How will you push it back, and how will you fight with that? How will you save your team? You need to have something written. So you can go ahead and review the documentation. You can tell them, you can show them this was already mentioned, that will not be done, that is out of the scope of this project, and we have agreed upon this thing. And you're safe, you're good. So this is sometimes it is important to write out of the scope requirements as well in your documentation. A good project requirement document, obviously, it guides the team what to do the next. If I have the clear requirement documented, I know what I'm going to do next. This is pretty clear. And if you have a good requirement documented, this will help you to subcontract the work, share the ownership, break down the larger chunk of the requirement into smaller, manageable chunks that can be completed easily by the individual developers or the team, by a team. So you will not be able to do these things correctly, efficiently, if you do not have the good requirement captured. So this is very important for you. And for the risk identification, of course, if you do not know what needs to be done, if you do not have exact, actual, well-defined requirements, you will not be able to catch all the risks. You may not be able to identify the risks. So this is very important for you to have a good requirement documentation, good project requirement captured, understood, and managed. And then only you will be able to know what risks you are seeing and how do you manage those risks. You can, plan the risk management as well. Finally, a project manager should always be in control of the scope of the project. Yes. However, this is collectively teamwork, but the ultimate responsibility lies to the project manager to manage the whole project along with the scope of the project. And as a BA, it is your ultimate accountability or responsibility to capture the good requirement so that the team can work on your requirement. All right, thank you very much, all of you.